Chapter 3346. The result. The moment Zhuoan killed Shifu, the 8 foreign tribe geniuses who were watching at the edge of the snowy ground shuddered. They looked at Zhuoan with fear in their eyes. "Do the 8 of you want to fight me as well?" Zhuoan turned around and looked at the 8 foreign tribe geniuses who were filled with fear as he asked calmly. The 8 foreign tribe geniuses looked at each other and knelt down on one knee to show that they had surrendered. "Kill yourselves. Save me the trouble." Zhuoan placed his hands behind his back and said calmly. The 8 foreign tribe geniuses sighed and chose to kill themselves. Long Wen had even killed geniuses like Feng Buming and Shifu. Even if they joined forces, their chances of winning were slim. They might as well kill themselves to avoid the humiliation. After the 8 foreign tribe geniuses killed themselves and disappeared into the snowy ground, Zhuoan was not taken away from the space. Instead, Di Jiang's voice became louder and louder in the sky. It was getting closer and closer. Zhuoan raised his head abruptly, only to see the enormous illusory figure of the Dijiang swooping down and enveloping Zhuoan in an instant. The 12 witch ancestor statues in the guarded ground would emit white light from time to time, and foreign tribe geniuses would be teleported out. The foreign tribe geniuses who were teleported out were basically eliminated. Suddenly, after the last ray of white light flashed out from the candle dragon statue, a loud and clear roar of a strange beast rang out. It shook the heavens and the earth, causing the entire world to shake. Then, an enormous figure shot out from the candle dragon statue and charged into the sky. All the foreign tribe geniuses in the guarded ground were shocked. When they saw the figure, they were almost shocked. The real face of the figure was the real body of the witch ancestor, the candle dragon. A huge candle dragon was floating in the sky. It can't be. Did the witch ancestor come back to life? How is that possible? No, this is not the real candle dragon. It should be the candle dragon's shadow. Look, there's a figure standing on the illusionary figure of the candle dragon. That's Wu Xingyuan of the sorcerer tribe. Many alien races were frightened. However, they soon realized that Wu Xingyuan was standing proudly with his hands behind his back on the candle dragon's shadow. In the world of the ancestral sorcerer statue, defeating all the competitors will trigger the ancestral sorcerer's apparition, which will then appear in the guarded ground. Looks like Xingyuan has taken the lead in dealing with all his competitors. Wu Wuxian looked at the Wu Xingyuan on the candle dragon's shadow with a gratified expression. His slightly aged voice then sounded and explained this phenomenon to everyone. Everyone revealed a relieved expression. It seemed that the appearance of the ancestral sorcerer's shadow meant that someone had won. Not long after Wu Xingyuan appeared, the other 2 ancestral wizard statues also showed signs of abnormalities. Their respective ancestral wizard phantoms flew out. Standing on each of the 2 ancestral shaman silhouettes were the 9-tailed fox clan's genius, Wu Qiutong, and the Moon Wolf clan's genius, Tu Qian. Senior Tu Qian has advanced. He has obtained one of the 12 slot. Qian Ping, who was in the Moon Wolf clan's team, shouted excitedly. The Moon Wolf clan leader, Yi Taihe, also smiled with gratification. Tu Qian was a junior that he had high hopes for. His strength and talent were extremely powerful. Although he was not as strong as Wu Xingyuan, he was not much weaker than Shifu from the Corpse Spirit clan. It was difficult for him to find a worthy opponent in the initial stage of the Master Tongtian realm. The fact that Tu Qian could come out so quickly made Yi Taihe quite happy. Not long after Wu Qiutong and Tu Qian came out, the other ancestral wizard statues had also finished their battles. The victors rode on the ancestral sorcerer's shadow and appeared in the sky above the statues, looking down at all the alien races in the guarded ground. Soon, 10 geniuses had finished their battles. These 10 geniuses were all geniuses from the 10 great tribes. It was worth mentioning that among the 3 geniuses of the sorcerer tribe, other than Wu Xingyuan, Wu Shuran and Wu Wenbin had also obtained slots. They each stood on the ancestral sorcerer's shadow and looked down at the guarded ground. Among them, the most eye-catching one was Jing Shan, the alien race genius from a small tribe. She had actually obtained one of the slots. The genius from the 10 great tribes that was eliminated by Jing Shan was the genius from the Merman tribe, Jiao Shuo. When the 11th victor was revealed, all of the foreign races were shocked. This was because the 11th victor was still not a genius from one of the top 10 races. Instead, it was a genius from a small race. And this genius from a small race seemed to be called Purple Star. Many people knew that Zixing had a good relationship with Long Wen. However, many of the alien races felt that Zixing was quite lucky. As Feng Buming and Shifu, the two geniuses from the 10 great tribes, had entered Dijiang's statue, there were no geniuses from the 10 great tribes in the ancestral sorcerer's statue that Ziwei Star entered. After the 11th winner was announced, all the alien race's attention fell on Dijiang's statue. They all knew that there were two geniuses from the 10 great tribes in Dijiang's statue. They were Feng Buming from the Phoenix people and Shifu from the Corpse Gowl tribe. Other than that, there was also Long Wen, who had made a name for himself in the second stage. They all wanted to know who would obtain the last slot. However, most of the alien races below unanimously believed that Shifu from the Corpse Gowl tribe would have the last laugh. Feng Leluor from the Phoenix people was very anxious. She hated Long Wen to the core. He actually chose Dijiang's statue where Feng Buming was and led Shifu inside. Phoenix Master, you don't have to do this. Buming's strength is not weak. He might not lose to Shifu. Grand Elder Mu Yu could not help but persuade Feng Leluor when she saw that Feng Leluor was anxious. Feng Leluor shook her head and said, Mu Yu, it's not like you don't know how powerful Shifu is. He dared to compete with Wu Xingyuan in the past, and he was already a Skyreach Master 1,000 years ago. Buming has only been promoted to Skyreach Master for half a year. How could he be a match for Shifu? Mu Yu fell silent. She was just trying to comfort Feng Leluor. She naturally knew how powerful Shifu was. It was not something that Feng Buming could compare to. However, she still had some hope in her heart. Perhaps Feng Buming would join forces with the other alien race geniuses to besiege Shifu. Then, Feng Buming would have a chance to defeat Shifu. It's all because of that damned Long Wen. After the Sorcerer Song conference ends, we must tear Long Wen into pieces. Third Elder and Yang snorted coldly. Long Wen will definitely not let him go, Feng Leluor said. At that moment, a teleportation light appeared in Dijiang's statue, and it immediately attracted the attention of many alien races. They realized that it seemed to be the first time the teleportation light appeared in Dijiang's statue. In other words, in the other statue worlds, the first person had just been eliminated in Dijiang's statue. This made many alien races feel that it was strange and unbelievable. When the light of the teleportation gradually faded, the figure that was revealed caused everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. Because the first person to be eliminated in Dijiang's statue was the Phoenix people's genius, Feng Buming. Creek. Chapter 3347 Shifu's death. After seeing Feng Leluor being eliminated, none of the foreign races were too surprised. Shifu was too powerful. In their expectations, they thought that Feng Buming was no match for Shifu. If they were to be eliminated, there was a high chance that Feng Buming would be eliminated. The current situation was indeed similar to what they had guessed. It seems that the final winner of the Di Jiang statue will be Shifu from the Corpse Gowl clan. Actually, the moment Shifu entered the Di Jiang statue, the victory was already decided. It's a pity for Feng Buming. He also had a high chance of getting a spot, but he was screwed over by Long Wen. Long Wen is finished. The Phoenix people and the Corpse Gowl clan won't let him go. After this shaman song gathering ends, I think he'll be dead for sure. Haha, Long Wen is an idiot. He's just a small clan, but he dares to provoke the Corpse Gowl clan and the Phoenix people. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Many of the foreign races discussed animatedly. Their words could be said to be extremely belittling of Long Wen. The patriarch of the Corpse Gowl clan, Shi Yinmarsh, even smiled. The moment Feng Buming came out, he knew that Shifu would definitely win. Feng Buming must have been killed by Shifu. As for Long Wen, Shi Yinmarsh had never taken him seriously. Long Wen was destined to be eliminated by Shifu. After this, the Corpse Gowl clan would capture Long Wen and make him suffer a fate worse than death. How dare he kill a genius of the Corpse Gowl clan? He must be tired of living. Feng Buming's face was slightly pale. He lowered his head and returned to the Phoenix people's group. He immediately knelt in front of Feng Leluo and said, "Bumming has disappointed the Phoenix Master. I'm willing to accept the punishment." Feng Leluo looked coldly at Feng Bumming. He had already calmed down. With his hands behind his back, he said coldly, "I don't blame you. I can only blame Long Wen. He lured Shifu into the Dijiang statue. Although you've already advanced to the Master of Heaven, the gap between you and Shifu is still not small. It's understandable that you lost to Shifu." Feng Bumming wanted to say that he was defeated by Long Wen, but he held himself back. He knew very well that if he were to truly say that Long Wen had defeated him, Feng Leluo would not be so easy to deal with. Perhaps she would become enraged and kill him on the spot. In order to save his life, Feng Bumming remained silent and did not intend to tell the truth. "Get up and come back to me. Once the Sorcerer Song Conference is over, we'll go back. But before returning, he must capture that Long Wen. This kid ruined our plans. We must make him regret it," Feng Leluo said ruthlessly. Feng Bumming stood beside Feng Leluo and looked gloomily at the statue of Dijiang. Long Wen's strength is very strong. He somewhat doubts whether the corpse pup can take down Long Wen. How laughable. After all, Shifu is a nearly invincible existence in the early stage of Lord All Heaven. Even though Long Wen can easily defeat me, it's not very possible for him to defeat Shifu. This time, Shifu will definitely be able to get rid of Long Wen, Feng Bumming secretly said in his heart. Just as Feng Bumming was thinking about that, another teleportation light appeared on Dijiang's statue. Among the 12 ancestral sorcerer statues, only Dijiang's statue had yet to end the battle. Therefore, any changes to Dijiang's statue were closely watched by many foreign races. Corpse Gal races Corpse Inhuan, Phoenix peoples Feng Leluo, and the other leaders of the 10 major races could not help but pay attention to the second figure that came out. The moment the second figure came out, the entire guarded ground fell silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Then, the entire guarded ground was in an uproar. The clamor surged like a tide. This was because the second figure was none other than Shifu, who everyone had placed their hopes on to win. At this moment, Shifu's face was very ugly. He was extremely pale as he held his head with both hands and screamed miserably. In front of his forehead, cold sweat fell like rain, patter 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 to the ground. "Ah! No!" Shifu held his head and screamed miserably. Then, his head suddenly exploded. A terrifying intent soared into the sky and quickly dissipated in the air. Bang! Shifu fell to the ground and became a headless corpse. He was completely dead. This unforeseen event completely shocked all the foreign races. The faces of the other 11 geniuses from the ancestral sorcerer statues also froze. They looked at the fallen Shifu with solemn eyes. Their hearts were filled with doubts. Wu Xingyuan opened his eyes. He looked at Shifu's corpse and frowned. His gaze was very complicated and doubtful. What's going on? Is Shifu dead? Feng Bumming was stunned. Feng Leluo and the other Phoenix people were also stunned. What happened in front of them was simply too illogical. The Corpse Gal Races team was in an uproar. Their leader, Sha'inhuan's face completely froze. A terrifying murderous intent exploded from Sha'inhuan's body. Then, Sha'inhuan disappeared on the spot and appeared beside Shifu's corpse. Who is it? Who killed Shifu? Sha'inhuan almost lost his mind. He raised his head and looked at Wu Wuxian. He questioned, "High Priest, you have to give me an explanation. Didn't you say that it's impossible to truly die in the world of the ancestral sorcerer statues? But what's going on here? How did Shifu die?" Wu Wuxian frowned slightly. She also felt that it was a little strange. In the world of the ancestral sorcerer statues, once a contestant is killed, their divine soul will immediately be protected and teleported out. Generally speaking, it's impossible to die. Unless someone is good at divine soul attacks. They used a powerful divine soul to wipe out Shifu's divine soul. That's why Shifu died in the end. Wu Wuxian recalled the terrifying sword essence that soared into the sky after Shifu's head exploded before he died. She was sure that it was a divine soul attack technique. This kind of secret technique was too rare. There were only a few in the entire primitive heavenly realm. She was surprised to see it here. Who could it be? To be able to use such a powerful divine soul attack technique, could it be that Long Wen? Wu Wuxian thought of Long Wen, but soon felt that her idea was unrealistic. Long Wen was only from a small clan. How could he have such a secret technique? Ah! How dare he kill Shifu? I'll make the murderer pay the price. High Priest, if I find the real murderer, I'll kill him. Don't stop me, Corpse Inma said fiercely. Wu Wuxian said coldly, the sorcerer song gathering hasn't ended yet. You can't do it. If you insist on doing it, you'll be going against the sorcerer tribe. After the sorcerer song gathering, I won't care about your personal grudges. Corpse Inma's heart trembled. He finally regained his composure. He cupped his hands at Wu Wuxian and returned to the Corpse Gao tribe's team with Shifu's body. However, Corpse Inma's gaze was fixed on Di Jiang's statue. He was sure that the winner of Di Jiang's statue should be the real murderer who killed Shifu. After the sorcerer song gathering ended, he would make the real murderer pay a heavy price. As for the surrounding foreign tribes, they were completely agitated. Many of them were guessing who had killed the Shi Pu, and who had such great ability. Bussing, what's going on? Feng Leluo asked sternly. Feng Bussing shuddered and said in a trembling voice that Shifu should have been killed by Long Wen. In fact, I was also eliminated by Long Wen. Only Long Wen can kill Shifu. At this moment, Feng Bussing's heart still had lingering fear. He had not expected to be killed in the ancestral sorcerer statue world. If Long Wen had dealt with him the same way he dealt with Shifu, he would have been a corpse by now. Chapter 3348. Memorize 69 books in 1 second. There are no pop-up windows, it's free to read. Killing intent. Feng Leluo's abnormality was not noticed by the other foreign races because their attention was all on Di Jiang's statue. Feng Bumming had been eliminated, and Shifu had been killed. The most powerful competitors in Di Jiang's statue were all eliminated. Who would be the winner in Di Jiang's statue? All the foreign races were looking forward to finding out who the winner was. Feng Leluo regained her composure and said in a deep voice, Bumming, is that true? Feng Bumming's eyes flickered, and he sighed softly. Since Long Wen has the strength to eliminate me, he must be very powerful. He's definitely one of the best in Di Jiang's statue. Other than him, I really can't think of anyone else. I really didn't expect that Long Wen, who's from a small clan, could actually defeat Bumming and Shifu, two great geniuses. The secret of this boy must be beyond our imagination. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to cultivate such powerful strength with just a small clan background, Grand Elder Mu Yu said in a deep voice. We can't underestimate Long Wen. After the sorcerer song gathering ends, we shouldn't act rashly. We just need to watch the show slowly. This boy has offended the Corpse Gao clan. The Corpse Yin swamp will find him sooner or later. At that time, we'll sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. We'll see what kind of powerful trump card Long Wen has. Then, we'll look for an opportunity to take down Long Wen completely and be the fisherman, Feng Leluo said indifferently. The Grand Elder and Third Elder looked at each other, then they cupped their hands at Feng Leluo and nodded in agreement. Soon, 8 figures were sent out one after another from Di Jiang's statue. These 8 figures were all geniuses from large clans. At that moment, they all lowered their heads and returned to their respective teams. At the same time, the news of Long Wen defeating Feng Bumming and Shifu, and obtaining the final victory, spread among the foreign races. The news came from the mouths of the 8 geniuses from large clans who were sent out, so it should be true. This piece of news had all of the foreign races startled. They also did not expect that the final victor would actually be Long Wen. In other words, Shifu's death was caused by Long Wen. Long Wen, you're dead for sure. First, you killed my Corpse Gao clan's Corpse Yu, and now you've even killed Shifu. If I, Corpse Yinmarsh, don't kill you, then I'm not worthy of being the patriarch of the Corpse Gao clan. Corpse Yinmar's eyes were cold as he declared that anyone who got close to Long Wen would be the enemy of his Corpse Ghost clan. The Corpse Ghost clan would spare no effort to kill any enemy that threatened them. These words were obviously very intimidating. Many foreign races didn't dare to get close to Long Wen. After all, if they did, they would be going against a colossus like the Corpse Ghost clan. Boom! Suddenly, Di Jiang's statue began to shake violently. Soon after, an incomparably huge illusory figure of Di Jiang shot out from the statue and hovered in the air. Everyone's gazes were fixated on the illusory figure of Di Jiang. There, a figure stood upright like a long spear, looking down at the foreign race beings of the guarded ground. This figure was familiar to all of the alien races. It was Long Wen, who had caused such a huge commotion. Corpse Yinmarsh looked at Long Wen coldly, but he didn't make a move. He knew that the time wasn't ripe yet. After all, the shaman song gathering hadn't started yet. Moreover, he had his own plans. Long Wen had obtained one of the 12 quotas, so he had the right to enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond and receive the baptism of the ancestral sorcerer's power. The ancestral sorcerer's power was extremely important to the foreign races of the primitive heavenly realm. Not only could it increase one's cultivation realm, but it could also increase one's aptitude and talent. It could even cleanse one's muscles and marrow, allowing one's physical body to undergo a metamorphosis. Corpse Yinmarsh planned to wait for Long Wen to absorb the power of the ancestral sorcerer, then capture it and use a secret method to refine it into medicine. He would then consume it directly to improve his cultivation and strength. It could be considered as revenge for the Shifu, and he would also get a good return. It's really Long Wen. We can't let him live. Feng Leluor's expression was ugly as she said angrily. He always felt that the dragon text must have chosen the statue where Feng Bumming was on purpose. The dragon text was targeting the Phoenix clan. Thinking of this, Feng Leluor was burning with anger. With Feng Bumming's strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to obtain one of the quotas. However, it was all ruined by Long Wen. She was filled with hatred. This kid is really stronger than I expected. The Moon Wolf clan leader, Yi Taihe, was also extremely surprised. As for Qian Ping, who was standing beside Yi Taihe, a complicated look appeared in her beautiful eyes. She had never expected that the country bumpkin she had mentioned before would obtain a quota to enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. Moreover, this time, Long Wen didn't obtain it by luck, but by strength. After all, Long Wen had defeated Feng Bumming and Shifu. She had nothing to say about this. This country bumpkin has some strength. However, compared to senior brother Tu Qian, he's still lacking. Qian Ping pursed her lips and muttered to herself. Her voice was very soft, and she seemed to lack confidence. Zhuowen stepped on the illusory image of Di Jiang and looked around. He found that the remaining 11 quotas had been decided. The 11 quotas were Wu Xingyuan, Wu Shuran, Wu Wenbin, Tu Qian from the Moon Wolf clan, Wu Chotong from the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, Xiu Kong from the Spacetime Beast clan, Xiong Gui from the Giant Turtle clan, Long Hui from the Dragon clan, Hu Ting from the Black Tiger clan, Crepe Star Sovereign and Jing Shan. He nodded slightly at Crepe Star Sovereign and Jing Shan, then stood quietly on the spot. He knew that he had successfully obtained a quota. Next, he would enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. Wu Wuxian took a deep look at Zhuowen. She now suspected that Long Wen might have an extremely powerful spiritual attack technique. Previously, when Shifu's spiritual soul was shattered and his head was broken, the terrifying sword essence that was produced was still fresh in her memory. She was sure that Zhuowen's spiritual attack technique was more powerful than any spiritual attack technique she had ever seen. Thinking of this, Wu Wuxian was a little tempted. Long Wen was just a small clan, but he had such a strong foundation. He must have obtained an extremely powerful inheritance. This inheritance was definitely not ordinary. It would be a waste for it to fall into Long Wen's hands. Although Wu Wuxian thought so, she was not in a hurry. Long Wen had offended too many people. She did not need to do anything. Naturally, someone else would. At that time, she only needed to play the role of Long Wen's savior. When the time came, she would use her kindness to threaten Long Wen. She did not believe that Long Wen would not hand over his secrets. Therefore, Wu Wuxian was not in a hurry. Congratulations to the 12 of you for obtaining a quota to enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond, Wu Wuxian said faintly. As soon as she said this, the foreign tribe geniuses standing around the 12 ancestral sorcerer statues were all excited. However, the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond will only open in 3 days. Everyone can gather here in 3 days. After saying this, Wu Wuxian returned to the main hall of the sorcerer tribe. Zhuowen frowned and could not help but look at Jingshan. Back then, Jingshan had said that after the Sorcerer's Song Festival ended, they could immediately enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. Why was it different now? When Zhuowen saw the confused expression on Jingshan's face, his heart sank. He knew that Jingshan should not have known that this would happen. The moment Wu Wuxian left, Zhuowen immediately sensed that several malicious gazes fell on him. Chapter 3349. Memorize 69 books in 1 second. No pop-up windows, free to read, getting restless in the guarded ground, most of the foreign tribes followed their respective teams and left the inner city. After all, the inner city was the core of the sorcerer tribe. If not for the sorcerer song gathering, even the big shots of the top 10 tribes would not be able to enter the inner city. Other than the disciples of the sorcerer tribe, the other tribes were not allowed to stay in the inner city for the next 3 days. They could only stay in the outer city. Even the top 10 tribes were not allowed to stay. Brother Long, be careful. The Phoenix people and the Corpse Scowl tribe have their eyes on you. Other than that, there are other tribes in the dark who are eager to take action against you. I'll make a move first. After sending a message to Zhuowen, Jingshan left the inner city quietly and disappeared. Zhuowen's face darkened as he sighed. He did not blame Jingshan for leaving so quickly. He also knew that he and Jingshan only had an ordinary cooperative relationship. It was impossible for Jingshan to bear the risks with him. Brother Zhuo, it seems like we're being watched. Crepe Star Lord came to Zhuowen's side and said with a dark look. I know. Let's leave the inner city first. Zhuowen said helplessly as he looked at the disciples of the sorcerer tribe who wanted to chase them away. Zhuowen and Crepe Star Lord had just walked out of the inner city when they realized that there were many foreign tribes following them. Zhuowen's mind power was extremely strong. He scanned the area and realized that there were other tribes besides the Phoenix people and the Corpse Scowl tribe. Zhuowen did not care about the foreign tribes following them. Instead, he brought Crepe Star Lord to a small inn in the outer city. At the counter of the inn, Zhuowen placed a storage bag on the counter and said to the innkeeper, Innkeeper, I'm buying this inn. The innkeeper wanted to reject Su Mo's offer. However, when he saw the large number of heavenly origin crystals in the storage bag, he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Hehe, esteemed guest, this inn is yours from now on. The innkeeper kept the storage bag and said with a flattering smile. Clear out all the guests in your inn, and I'll pay for your losses, Zhuowen continued. The shopkeeper hurriedly responded and moved swiftly. Soon, all the guests in the inn were cleared out. Although many guests were very dissatisfied, the shopkeeper had a group of powerful fighters under him. These guests did not dare to make a big deal out of it, so they could only swallow their anger and leave the inn. In less than 2 hours, the inn had already been emptied. The shopkeeper also took the initiative to leave with a group of hired thugs. Brother Zhuo, what are you? Purple Star Sovereign said in surprise. Brother Ziwei, I plan to set up a peerless formation outside this inn. If no one provokes me in these 3 days, then it's fine. But if anyone dares to provoke me, then I, Zhuowen, am not a pushover. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he spoke coldly. Crepe Myrtle Star Assembly shivered. He knew that Zhuowen was serious. He knew very well that with Zhuowen's level of formation skills, there were not many foreign race experts in the outer city who could invade this inn. Next, Zhuowen spent half a day setting up the 12 heavenly deities Slaughter Grand Formation, the 10 Directional Cloud Annihilation Grand Formation, the Heavenly Toad Limitless Grand Formation, and the Qingyuan Imperial Formation in the surroundings of the inn. Of these 4 formations, the first 3 were all heaven-piercing killing formations, and the 4th was a heaven-piercing defensive formation. These 4 heaven-piercing formations were all set up by Zhuowen in the past, and he had already learned them. Now, it was naturally much easier for him to set them up than before, and the speed of setting them up was also much faster. Zhuoan looked at the 4 formations around him, his eyes flashing. These 4 heaven-piercing formations complemented each other, and their power was unparalleled. If an expert in the late stage of heaven-piercing master broke into these 4 formations, he would not be able to escape. At that time, he would only be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. After Zhuowen finished setting up the large arrays, he dispersed the 4 large arrays. Then, he refined an array flag and placed it in the Great World. This formation flag was the key to activating the 4 formations. As long as he activated the formation flag, the 4 formations would immediately be activated, and any living creatures within the formations would be killed. After doing all this, Zhuowen set up a concealment formation on the surface of the 4 formations. Then, he entered the inn, chose a room at random, and began to meditate cross-legged. He planned to use these 3 days to completely condense the spirit sword essence that he had just separated. Moreover, in order to kill the Shifu, he used a spirit sword essence. Now, there was only 1 spirit sword essence left in his spirit that had not yet taken shape. The power of the spirit sword essence was somewhat beyond Zhuowen's expectations. In any case, the Shifu was an expert who was about to enter the middle stage of heaven-piercing master, but he was actually killed in an instant by the spirit sword essence. Zhuowen's current limit was to condense 2 spirit sword essences. After all, the sword chi contained in the spirit sword essence was too terrifying. 2 spirit sword essences was a number that Zhuowen's spirit could barely bear. After he completely condensed this spirit sword essence, he planned to separate another spirit sword essence, so that his spirit would maintain the number of 2 spirit sword essences. When Zhuowen entered the inn to cultivate in seclusion, the various clans that came out of the inner city did not leave Witch God City. Instead, they were discussing something. This Long Wen is quite bold. He knew that we had followed him, but he did not leave Witch God City directly. Instead, he found an inn and stayed there directly. Truly a newborn calf that is not afraid of a tiger. In the room, Feng Leluo sneered as she read the news reported by her subordinates. Phoenix Master, do you want me to directly remove this Long Wen? Grand Elder Mu Yu asked in a deep voice. Now is not the time to make a move. It is not only us, the Phoenix people, who have their eyes on Long Wen. The other 10 clans, even the witch race, have their eyes on Long Wen as well. That Long Wen will definitely die, but we have to make a good plan. How can we stand out among the many covetous people and obtain the greatest benefit? Feng Leluo shook her head. Then we won't make a move first? Feng Bumming asked. Yes. Let's not make a move first and see what the other clans do. We'll act according to the circumstances. Feng Leluo nodded. In the inn where the corpse race was located, Corpse Yinmarsh said to his subordinate who was kneeling on the ground, "When will the Vice-Patriarch return?" This subordinate has received news that the Vice-Patriarch will arrive at Witch God City in 1 day. He is now rushing at full speed. The subordinate who was kneeling on the ground said respectfully, After the Vice-Patriarch arrives, go directly to the inn where Long Wen is and kidnap him without anyone noticing. Remember, I want him alive. Corpse Yinmarsh said indifferently. The subordinate hurriedly nodded and left the room. Long Wen, I asked the Vice-Patriarch to personally capture you. It can be said that I think highly of you. Who asked you to offend our corpse race? After all, once you offend the corpse race, we will fight to the death. You can't escape from the palm of my hand. Corpse Yinmarsh said coldly. Not only the corpse race and the Phoenix people, but many other clans in Witch God City were also restless. And the source of all the restlessness was Zhuowen. If the current situation in Witch God City was compared to a storm, then the place where Zhuowen was at was the source of the storm, which was also the eye of the storm. All the clan's actions were because of Zhuowen, the eye of the storm. Chapter 3350. The initiator inside the room of the inn, Zhuowen slowly stood up. His eyes abruptly opened, and an intense chill flickered within them. Within the range of his divine telekinesis, there were dozens of figures sneaking up on his inn. All of them were up to no good. Zhuowen also found that within the range of his divine telekinesis, there were subtle energy fluctuations. He knew that there should be more people hiding in the distance and could attack at any time. Creak. Crepe Star Sovereign pushed the door open and entered. He looked at Zhuowen and said solemnly, "Brother Zhuowen, you were right. There are people who can't hold back on the first day. Are we going to fight?" "No need. If we fight in Sorcerer God City, regardless of whether we take the initiative or not, we will be accused of breaking the rules of Sorcerer God City and attacking in private. We will not be able to escape punishment. Wu Wuxian of the Sorcerer Tribe only needs an excuse to take us down. If she finds this excuse, we will be guilty even if we are innocent. When the time comes, Wu Wuxian will definitely take us down immediately," Zhuowen said in a low voice. "Then you mean?" Crepe Star Sovereign frowned and said hesitantly, "I have set up 4 large formations in the inn. 3 of them are killing formations and the other one is a defense formation. I will activate the defense formation and wait for 3 days. After 3 days, we will be able to enter the Ancestral Sorcerer's magical pond. When my cultivation has improved greatly in the Ancestral Sorcerer's magical pond, I will not be afraid of even the High Priest of the Sorcerer Tribe," Zhuowen said. Crepe Myrtle Star nodded. Although he was surprised by Zhuowen's confidence, he also knew that it was not a wise decision to fight with these restless enemies who were hiding in the dark. "Brother Crepe Star Sovereign, help me pay attention to all the invaders tonight and record which tribes they are from. I want to see which outsider clans are targeting me and trying to kill me," Zhuowen said with a cold look in his eyes. Swoosh. Swoosh. Several figures flashed across the sky like black lightning and soon landed not far away from the inn Zhuowen was staying at. These figures were all in disguise. Clearly, they didn't want to be recognized by the other outsiders or Zhuowen. Boom. Boom. In the blink of an eye, dozens of attacks rained down on the inn like a meteor shower. That power was extremely vast. It was as if a 7-colored light had exploded. In the pitch-black night, it was like a blazing sun, dazzling and gorgeous. This noise startled many non-humankind beings in the surrounding area, who quickly fled from the area. The reason for that was because that attack was simply too frightening. The aftermath of the explosion was like a tide as it spread through the surroundings. The nearby buildings were all destroyed and turned into ruins. Some of the non-humankind beings who weren't strong enough and didn't react fast enough didn't even have the chance to scream before they were blown up into blood mist and dissipated in the air. They couldn't be more dead. It was obvious that such a powerful attack had been planned for a long time. There must be experts at the level of Master Heaven Ascension mixed in. Otherwise, this joint attack wouldn't be so fierce. Crackle. Originally, many of the non-humankind beings thought that the inn Zhuowen was staying at would definitely be reduced to ashes. Even Zhuowen, who was in the inn, would die under such an attack. However, everyone was surprised to find that the inn wasn't destroyed as they had expected. Instead, it was completely undamaged. This was because a light blue protective shield had appeared on the surface of the inn. It's a Master Heaven defensive formation. How many treasures does Long Wen have? He even has a formation of this level. Damn it. An exasperated voice came from the darkness. Clearly, one of the ambushers hadn't expected that Zhuowen's residence would have such a powerful formation. Whoosh. Whoosh. Seeing that their attack didn't succeed, these figures didn't dare to stay any longer and left the place. They weren't afraid of Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star in the inn, but they were afraid of the rules of Sorcerer God City. After all, there were clear rules in Sorcerer God City that no one could attack without permission, let alone destroy wantonly. If someone violated the rules, they would be pursued by the experts of the Sorcerer Tribe. In serious cases, they would even be killed without mercy. Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star stood side by side at the entrance of the inn. Their gazes were extremely cold. Neither of them were ordinary cultivators. Zhuowen's divine thought was originally stronger than that of ordinary cultivators, and Crepe Myrtle Star had obtained the inheritance of the undying bird. His strength was earth-shattering. In just a few breaths, the two of them quickly captured the aura of the dozens of figures. What made their faces turn ugly was that among the dozens of figures, there were 5 experts from the 10 great clans. The Gowl tribe and the Phoenix people were needless to say. After all, when Zhuowen was at the Sorcerer Song Conference, He had a lot of enmity with these two clans. It was expected that the experts from these two clans would attack him. But in addition, there were 3 other experts from the 10 great clans involved. Zhuowen had already sensed that these 3 clans were the Mermaid tribe, the Black Tiger tribe, and the Dragon tribe. Furthermore, Zhuowen's senses hadn't been wrong. These 5 races had all sent out experts on the level of Master Transcendence. Were they trying to kill Zhuowen in one fell swoop, and then divide his secrets? Not long after the sneak attackers left, a group of law enforcers from Sorcerer God City quickly arrived. The leader of this group of law enforcers was a thin middle-aged man. His skin was red, and even his hair and beard were the same red. Who is it? How dare you attack and destroy wantonly in Sorcerer God City? You are simply courting death. The law enforcer roared angrily. Soon, he noticed the inn that was enveloped by the green jade array. It was the inn where Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star stayed. Within a radius of dozens of miles, all the other buildings were in ruins. However, this inn was intact and stood out among the crowd. A sky-reaching defensive array? The law enforcer soon noticed the array that was emitting a faint light around the inn. He came to the array and said in a deep voice, "Friends inside, remove the array and come out quickly. I have some questions for you." As soon as the law enforcer finished speaking, the green jade array gradually dissipated into powder. Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star walked out. "Oh, it's you. You are Long Wen and Crepe Myrtle Star, right?" The law enforcer was stunned and immediately blurted out their pseudonyms. Zhuowen was not surprised. The Sorcerer Song Conference was such a grand event. Basically, all the foreign clans in Sorcerer God City knew about it. After all, the 2 of them had won the quota to enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. They were quite famous. Not many people in Sorcerer God City did not know them. Chapter 3351. Slander. Fellow cultivator, the destruction of the surrounding buildings has nothing to do with us. Some people secretly launched a surprise attack on the inn where we are staying. That's why it's like this. The Purple Star Sovereign cupped his fists and said politely. The enforcer nodded and said indifferently, "In that case, do you know who participated in the surprise attack? It's best if you tell us their names." "We don't know their names, but I know which clans did it," Zhuowen said. Which clans?" the enforcer asked. "The Phoenix people, the Gowl clan, the Mermaid clan, the Black Tiger clan, and the Dragon clan. Fellow cultivator, I think you'd better go to the residences of these 5 clans and ask them what they mean by this. Do they think that I, Long Wen, am easy to bully, so everyone wants to bully me?" Zhuowen said coldly. The enforcer frowned when he heard that. The 5 clans that Zhuowen had mentioned were all from the top 10 clans, and each of them was extremely powerful. Although these 5 clans were not as powerful as the Sorcerer clan, when the 5 clans joined forces, even the Sorcerer clan had to take them seriously. Haha. Not to mention your lowly status, even your ability to slander is not small. You said that our 5 clans did such evil deeds. Do you have any evidence? If you don't, then you're slandering us. Suddenly, a gloomy voice came from afar. Zhuowen and the enforcer turned their heads and saw the Gowl clan's leader, Yinmarsh, slowly walking over with a group of people. Zhuowen also found that behind Yinmarsh, in addition to the Gowl clan's team, the 3 leaders of the Mermaid clan, the Black Tiger clan, and the Dragon clan were also following. Only the Phoenix people's team was missing. The leader of the Mermaid clan was called Yongshe. He was extremely tall and looked like a small giant. The leader of the Black Tiger clan was called Hu Sho. His entire body was covered with a black mane, and he had a human body and a tiger head. He looked extremely ferocious. The leader of the Dragon clan was called Zonglong. He had a human body and a dragon head. He was the tallest among the group, and he looked like a crane in a flock of chickens. These 3 patriarchs all glared at Zhuowen like tigers eyeing their prey, their eyes filled with ridicule. "I am Yuan Gang, the vice commander of the law enforcement team. Greetings to the 4 clan head. I really didn't expect that the commotion this time would actually draw the attention of the 4 patriarchs." Yuan Gang cupped his fists and spoke in a rather polite manner. Our residence isn't far from here. Since there was such a huge commotion just now, it naturally attracted our attention, so we came together to take a look. But I never expected that someone would slander us as soon as we arrived here. It's simply disgraceful and arrogant to the extreme, Corpse Yinmarsh said indifferently. Corpse clan leader, please be at ease. We will definitely give you an explanation for this matter. I won't let you suffer for nothing. Also, our president, Sir Yang Shi, is on his way. He should be here soon to uphold justice for you. Yuan Gang did not dare to be negligent. Zhuowen's face turned a little ugly. From Yuan Gang's attitude, he could faintly feel that Yuan Gang was leaning towards Corpse Yinmarsh's side and was even trying to curry favor with Corpse Yinmarsh. Of course I trust your Sorcerer Clan's law enforcement team. After all, our clan has been supporting your Sorcerer Clan for so many years. I believe that your Sorcerer Clan will definitely not wrongly accuse us. Otherwise, we will be bitterly disappointed, Corpse Yinmarsh said meaningfully. Yuan Gang cupped his fists again and lowered his head. Then, he looked at Zhuowen and said, Fellow Long Wen, you said that the surroundings were caused by the Corpse Clan and the other clans joining forces to attack you. I wonder if you have any evidence. Zhuowen looked on coldly and said in a deep voice, They came quickly and left quickly. Moreover, they were all in disguise. I can only sense that the aura on their bodies belonged to the Corpse Clan and the other clans, but I didn't have time to do any evidence. Haha, Long Wen, how dare you slander us without any evidence? How should we punish you? Corpse Yinmarsh shouted coldly. After all, we are one of the 10 great clans. We do things in an open and above-board manner. Why would we do something like a surprise attack? You are just a small clan, but your ability to slander others is not small. This kind of guy who is full of nonsense should be eliminated directly to prevent him from harming others in the future. Dragon Clan's patriarch, Zhong Long, said contemptuously. Black Tiger Clan's patriarch, Hu Shuo, and Merman Clan's patriarch, Yong Shu, also spoke out. They condemned Zhuowen and suggested that it would be best to kill Long Wen on the spot. Zhuowen's face turned uglier and uglier. He looked at the law enforcement team's deputy commander, Yuan Gang. He could see that Yuan Gang was in a dilemma and couldn't make up his mind. Yuan Gang, what's going on? Why did you call me over in such a hurry? Suddenly, a loud and clear voice broke the clamor of this place. A tall and burly sorcerer tribesman walked over with big strides. His eyes shone brightly like the moon. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed the moment he saw the Sorcerer Clan expert. This was because he was no stranger to the Sorcerer Clan expert. He was actually the leader of the Sorcerer Clan who had appeared in the Starry Sky battlefield and planned to attack and occupy the Xian Mi heavenly domain. Back then, the Yangtang alliance was very impressive. His cultivation had reached the middle stage of the Master of Heaven Ascension. Moreover, due to his powerful Sorcerer Clan bloodline, his strength was much stronger than an ordinary Master of Heaven Ascension. He had once beaten the Eastern Sect Master, Tan Xinghua, who was also at the middle stage of the Master of Heaven Ascension, half to death. If Zhuowen hadn't saved him with the Starry Sky Cannon, Tan Xinghua would have died at the hands of the Yangtang Alliance. This showed how powerful and terrifying the Yangtang Alliance was. Greetings, Commander. Yuan Gang cupped his hands and said. The Yangtang Alliance nodded and then glanced at Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star. His gaze then fell on Corpse Yinmarsh and the others. Brother Yangtang, long time no see, you are still as elegant as before. Corpse Yinmarsh cupped his hands towards the Yangshi Union in a rather friendly manner, while the 3 lordess of Dragon Clan, Black Tiger Clan, and Merman Clan also cupped their hands towards the Yangshi Union in a rather polite manner. Although the Yangjiao combination's cultivation level was slightly weaker than theirs, it was still extremely powerful. Even if the Yangjiao combination was not a match for the late-stage Skyreach Master, it was still extremely powerful. However, it would be extremely difficult for an ordinary expert in the later stage of Tongtian Lord to kill Yang Shi. After all, Yang Shi had the bloodline of the Sorcerer tribe, which was much stronger than an ordinary disciple of the Sorcerer tribe. It could be said that he was blessed by nature. Brother Corpse, Brother Tiger, Brother Dragon, and Brother Eternal Stone, it has indeed been a long time. If it weren't for the Wu Song conference, I wouldn't have been able to meet you all at once. I just don't know what exactly happened here. The young-tongued ensemble asked. The matter is very simple. It's like this ant from a small clan called Long Wen actually slandered us, saying that we destroyed a radius of 10 miles, and he has no evidence to prove that we did it. We are truly somewhat wronged. Corpse Yinmarsh sighed softly. How could there be such a thing? The Young-Tongue Alliance's eyes widened, and then he looked coldly at Zhuowen. He said to Yuan Gang, these two people are so rebellious, slandering others without reason. They really don't put the sorcerer tribe in their eyes. I see that the surrounding area was destroyed by these two people, yet they still dare to slander others. Do they think we are fools? Capture them. Yuan Gang was stunned. He hesitated for a moment and said softly, Lord Youngtongue, these two people are the winners of the Wusong conference. If we capture them now, shouldn't we? Chapter 3352. Let's go. Yuan Gang covered his face in fear and did not dare to speak. He quickly ordered the enforcers behind him to take Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star away. However, when the enforcers entered the inn, they were immediately blocked by a powerful energy barrier. They could not get close to Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star. There is a great heaven defensive array? Are you a divine array master? The young-tongued Union was stunned when he saw that the enforcers were blocked outside. He looked at Zhuowen with bright eyes. Zhuowen sneered and shook his head. If I were a great heaven array master, I would not allow you to be so presumptuous. I obtained this array by accident. Someone happened to break into my seclusion place and activated the array. The young-tongued Union nodded slightly. He did not think that Long Wen was a great heaven array master. He must have obtained a great heaven array. The young-tongued Union was excited. There were not many great heaven array in the eldritch heavenly domain and its value was immeasurable. Long Wen, who came from a small tribe, had such an array. It was obvious that Long Wen had a lot of resources and he must have other good things. Haha, you have committed such a serious crime and you should be punished severely. However, if you hand over the great heaven array, you can make up for your mistakes and your crime will be reduced, the young-tongued Union said. Corpse Yinmar and the others frowned when they heard this. They knew that things were not going well. They finally knew why the sorcerer tribe's head of enforcers had intervened. Wu Wuxian must have instructed him to do so and his goal was Long Wen's secret. When Corpse Yinmar wanted to say something, the young-tongued Union immediately waved his hand and stopped them. Tribe leaders, you don't have to say anything. Long Wen has committed a serious crime and I plan to lock him up in the sorcerer tribe's dungeon and let him receive the punishment he deserves. If you have any objections, feel free to raise them. The sorcerer tribe will handle this matter impartially. However, if all of you wish to plead for Zhuowen, then forget it. Although our sorcerer tribe is not as powerful as the alliance of all the other tribes, we are not pushovers either, the young-tongued Union said righteously. This, Yinmar and the others were upset. They knew that their plan had been taken away by the sorcerer tribe. However, they did not dare to say anything. After all, this was the tribe. The young-tongued Union. The young-tongued Union to do things. The young-tongued not only do it Union but also was not, to Union Yinmar and the young-tongued Yang and Union Yinmar. Seeing that Corpse Yinju and the others were silent, the young-tongued combination showed the attitude of a victor. Then, he looked at Zhuowen, who was inside the jade flourishing array, and said, Long Wen, now you know how sinful you are. Now, release this formation and surrender. I, the young-tongued Union, promise you that I will definitely plead for leniency with the Sacred Master. At that time, I will naturally reduce your punishment. Yinmar Union Studio Go Union Y Union. Yinmar Ibo Union. Not Yinmar. The young Jiao glanced at Zhuowen from the corner of his eyes, and said, then you will be punished even more. Once this formation of yours is broken, what awaits you will be the highest punishment of our witch race. You will definitely die. I think you are a smart person. You are alone, and our Wu tribe is a famous giant in the untainted land. You should make the right choice. Was this your idea or Wu Wuxian's? Zhuowen frowned. The Grand Priestess doesn't know about it yet, but she will find out soon. Once you surrender, the Grand Priestess will judge you. After all, you are one of the 12 candidates for the Song of the Witchcraft Gathering, the young Jiao said calmly. Good. I'll go with you to see the High Priest, but before that, I have a condition. Zhuowen could already tell that he was the target of the combination of sheep and tongue. He had to go tonight even if he didn't want to, so he agreed very quickly. Tell me, as long as it's not too much, I'll agree to it. The young Jiao was overjoyed. He was surprised that Long Wen agreed so quickly. This is my friend, Zi Xing. He is also one of the 12 candidates for the Song of the Witchcraft Gathering. This accident was caused by me, and it has nothing to do with him. 3 days later, he will enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. You have to promise not to stop him, Zhuowen said. I can't make this decision. The Grand Priestess has to make the decision, the young Jiao said. Then inform Wu Wuxian now. If he doesn't agree, we will resist until the end tonight. Even if we have to die together, Zhuowen said coldly. The young Jiao frowned. In the end, he took out his communication jade talisman and sent a message to Wu Wuxian. After a while, the young Jiao received the message through his communication jade talisman. The young Jiao put away his communication jade talisman and said in a low voice, The Grand Priestess promises that as long as you follow us to the dungeon of the witch race, your friend's quota will not be taken away. Zhuowen patted Crepe Myrtle Star's shoulder and said softly, Brother Crepe Myrtle, it's all up to you now. If we can survive these 3 days, you and I will be saved. After saying that, Zhuowen walked out of the array and walked towards the young Jiao. And this array, aren't you going to take it and hand it over? The young Jiao looked at the green garden array around the inn and said with a greedy gaze. Haha, I'm afraid that some people with ulterior motives will harm my friend in these 3 days. This array is his last line of defense. You can't take it away, Zhuowen said indifferently. The young Jiao's face darkened, but he didn't say anything. After all, the defensive array belonged to Zhuowen. Without Zhuowen's permission, he couldn't take it back. The only way was to destroy it. Let's go, Zhuowen said. The young Jiao nodded. Just as he was about to leave with Zhuowen, Corpse Yinkai and the others couldn't sit still anymore. They had plotted together, sent out many experts, and caused such a big commotion tonight. It was all because of Zhuowen. To be more precise, it was because of the secret on Zhuowen's body. But now, the young Jiao had easily taken Zhuowen away with just a few words. How could they be willing to accept this? Brother young Jiao, Long Wen will kill our tribe's genius Shifu in Wusong. We, Corpse Yinkai, will definitely take revenge for this blood feud. You can't take him away like this, Corpse Yinkai said. Brother Inga is right. This Long Wen is unfilial. He almost killed the genius of our tribe, Feng Bumming. He must give us an explanation. Feng Liluor came out from the shadows and spoke. The Dragon Tribe's patriarch, Zhong Long, the Black Tiger Tribe's patriarch, Hu Shuo, and the Merman Tribe's patriarch, Yong Shu, also said that they wanted Long Wen to give them an explanation. Of course, the reasons they gave were all nonsensical and fabricated. The young Jiao hesitated. The strength of these 5 tribes was too strong. If they joined forces, even the Sorcerer tribe would be afraid. Although he was the Sorcerer tribe's head of law enforcement, he couldn't be considered the true decision-maker of the Sorcerer tribe. Under the pressure of the 5 tribe leaders, he was at a loss and panicked. Everyone, give me some face. Long Wen broke the rules in Sorcerer God City and should be dealt with by the Sorcerer tribe. As for the grudge between you and Long Wen, I will give you an explanation after this. I won't let you suffer. A distant voice rang in the ears of the many foreign tribes present. It was like a huge bell, rolling and ringing. It was the voice of the Sorcerer tribe's Grand Priest, Wu Wuxian. Corpse Yinkai and the others fell silent. They looked at each other and finally nodded. Chapter 3353. Sorcerer Tribe Sacred Lord Myrtle Star watched as the young-tongued combination took Zhuowen away. His gaze was calm as he muttered to himself, I didn't expect that in the end, I still had to use the most helpless method. It's all because I'm too weak. As he spoke, Myrtle Star opened his right hand. On his right palm, An insignificant speck of dust lay quietly. After putting away the speck of dust, Myrtle Star strode into the inn. "Brother Enmar, are we going to let Zixing go just like that?" Zixing was able to obtain one of the 12 spots in the Sorcerer Song Conference. "I'm afraid he's not simple. After all, he was born in a small clan. To be able to rise in the Sorcerer Song Conference, he's definitely not simple," Yongshur, the leader of the Merman tribe, said in a deep voice. Corpse Enmar shook his head and said, "We're still in the Sorcerer God City. It's not appropriate for us to make a move. After all, the defensive formation that Zhuoan left behind is not simple. We won't be able to break it in a short period of time. When the time comes, the Sorcerer tribe might make a move." Brother Enmar is right. We can't touch Zixing now. After leaving the Sorcerer God City, the Sorcerer tribe won't interfere anymore. We'll make a move then, Feng Leluor said. "Millimeter, let's go to the inner city. Since Long Wen was brought into the inner city, Wu Wuxian will definitely appear. Let's have a good talk with Wu Wuxian about the distribution of the spoils." Corpse Enmar looked in the direction of the inner city and said coldly. In the inner city, in the Sorcerer tribe's main hall, 2 figures sat opposite each other in a very spacious room. The dome of the room was open air. The people sitting in the room only needed to raise their heads to see the stars in the night sky. One of the 2 figures was the Sorcerer tribe's sacred lord. He was also one of the top experts in the entire Eldritch Heaven domain. It was said that the Sorcerer tribe's sacred lord's cultivation had reached the peak of the heaven-reaching master realm. His strength was monstrous, and he intimidated the universe. In front of the Sorcerer tribe's sacred lord, Corpse Enmar and a group of late-stage heaven-reaching masters were completely useless. They were as insignificant as ants. But now, the holy master of the Sorcerer tribe, who stood at the peak of the primitive heavenly realm, was sitting upright and still, looking at the figure sitting opposite him with fear. This figure sat casually with a bare upper body. It was actually as thin as a match, and its skin was dry and shriveled. It was like a dried corpse, and there were actually tufts of green hair growing on this dried corpse. It was neither human nor ghost, and it was extremely strange. If Zhuoan was here, he would definitely recognize this figure. It was the green-furred corpse that he had released from the seal. "Senior, you've been sitting here for several days. May I know what you're here for?" the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe asked carefully. Back then, this green-furred mummy had appeared in his bedroom like a ghost. At that time, he was furious and brazenly attacked. However, he was knocked down to the ground by this green-furred corpse with a single move, and his battle prowess temporarily dissipated. This made him inexplicably shocked. He knew that this green-furred mummy's strength was far greater than his, so he was both shocked and afraid of this green-furred mummy. He did not dare to be negligent in any way. What made the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe feel even more strange was that after the green-furred mummy had taught him a lesson, it had only sat there motionlessly like a stone statue. Although this green-furred mummy was like a mummy when it was motionless, the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe did not dare to leave. Who knew if this green-haired mummy would suddenly come back to life and attack him, directly killing him? "I heard that your Sorcerer tribe has 3 ancestor sorcerer corpses. Is that true?" The green-furred mummy suddenly opened its eyes and looked at the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe calmly. "Yes. Senior, may I know why you mentioned this?" The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe felt his scalp go numb as he asked. Hee. I want those 3 ancestor sorcerer corpses," the green-furred mummy said calmly. "What?" The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe's expression changed abruptly. "What? Do you have a problem with that?" The green-furred mummy looked at the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe unkindly. The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe fell silent and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. "Senior, those 3 ancestor sorcerer corpses were passed down from our ancestors. You must not touch them. If you touch them, the Sorcerer tribe will be in big trouble," the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe said in a trembling voice. "I don't care if they were passed down from your ancestors. If you don't want to hand over the 3 ancestor sorcerer corpses, that's fine. After I uproot the Sorcerer tribe, I will find the 3 ancestor sorcerer corpses that you have hidden," the green-furred mummy said with a murderous look. "Don't. Senior, Don't do anything rash. I can give you the 3 ancestor sorcerer corpses, but it will take some time. Not long ago, the Sorcerer Song Festival ended and 12 geniuses need to enter the Ancestor Sorcerer Magical Pond for baptism. After the baptism, I will bring you to the Ancestor Sorcerer Magical Pond. How about that? The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe sighed. Okay. I will wait for a while more. Anyway, I am not in a hurry, the green-furred mummy said and closed its eyes again. It was as if it had turned into a lifeless mummy. The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe smiled bitterly. He was really unlucky to have met such a shameless expert. Suddenly, a beautiful figure quietly entered the room. Grand Priest. What's wrong? The moment the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe saw the beautiful figure, his previous weakness disappeared and he exuded a powerful aura. The beautiful figure was the Grand Priest of the Sorcerer tribe, Wu Wuxian. She knelt on one knee and stole a glance at the green-furred mummy that was pretending to be dead. Then, she said, Saint Lord, Long Wen has been wreaking havoc in Sorcerer God City. Now that he has been caught, I am here to report to you. Would you like to go with me to judge him? I don't need to show up for such a small matter. You can handle it. The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe said impatiently. Hey! You said that his name is Long Wen? The moment the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe finished speaking, the green-furred mummy that was pretending to be dead suddenly jumped up and asked the Grand Priest. Wu Wuxian was shocked. She had not noticed when the green-furred mummy had come to her side. How powerful must he be to be able to get close to her without anyone noticing? If the green-furred mummy had wanted to kill her, she would have been a corpse just now. He is a disciple of a small clan who is participating in the Sorcerer Song Conference. His name is Long Wen and he has violated the rules of Sorcerer God City. We are going to judge him now. Wu Wuxian said hurriedly, her voice trembling slightly. Oh, Long Wen is not a human? The green-furred mummy asked in surprise. You must be joking. If he is a human, he would not be able to participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. He would not even be able to move around in the primitive sky realm. How could he be a human? Wu Wuxian said with a forced smile. Oh, I see. Then take me to your trial as well. I am interested in Long Wen and want to see what he is like, the green-furred mummy said. Wu Wuxian and the Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe looked at each other. They were confused. Why would this powerful expert be interested in a disciple of a small clan? Could it be that he knew Long Wen? Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and take me with you, the green-furred mummy said impatiently. The Saint Lord of the Sorcerer tribe was helpless. He said to Wu Wuxian, Grand Priest, let's go with them. Chapter 3354. Carve Up Shuowen followed behind He Jish and entered the main hall of the Sorcerer tribe. The main hall of the Sorcerer tribe was indeed magnificent. The decorations in the hall were extremely luxurious and spacious. He Jish did not bind Shuowen's hands and feet like a prisoner. He was very proud of himself. Long Wen was just a disciple of a small tribe. He Jish was a middle-stage expert of the Sorcerer tribe. If Long Wen wanted to escape, he could suppress him with a flip of his hand. After entering the main hall, Zhuowen realized that there was another group of people behind him. This group of people was Corpse Inhe and the others who had followed him. He Jish naturally noticed Corpse Inhe and the others. However, he did not bother with them. Instead, he stood silently in front of the stairs in the main hall, waiting for the Grand Priest to appear. Soon, 3 figures walked out from the depths of the main hall and stood on the throne at the top of the stairs. What surprised He Jish and the others was that not only had the Grand Priest Wu Wuxian come, but the Holy Master of the Sorcerer tribe had also come. In addition, there was a green-haired mummy who stood calmly in front of the Holy Master of the Sorcerer tribe and Wu Wuxian. Then, under the stunned gazes of He Jish and the others, the green-haired mummy sat on the throne casually. Usually, only the Holy Master of the Sorcerer tribe had the right to sit on the throne. What surprised them even more was that the Holy Master of the Sorcerer tribe was not angry. Instead, he revealed a fawning expression. This caused a stir in everyone's hearts. They were all guessing who the green-haired mummy was and why the holy master of the sorcerer tribe was fawning over him. The moment Zhuowen saw the green-haired mummy, he was stunned. He was all too familiar with the green-haired mummy. Back then, he had obtained the Pangu banner from the ominous meridian. At the same time, he had released the green-haired mummy that had been suppressed by the Pangu banner. The green-haired mummy's strength was terrifying. Back then, it had been suppressed for too long and its strength had been reduced to less than 10%. However, it had still been able to kill him with one hand. If he had not relied on the Pangu banner back then, he would have been killed by the green-haired mummy. And now, Zhuowen discovered that the aura of this green-furred corpse was even more unfathomable. He had also heard of how powerful the sorcerer tribe's holy master was. He knew that the sorcerer tribe's holy master was a supreme expert at the peak of sky piercing. However, in front of the green-furred mummy, he was timid and careful. It could be seen that the green-furred mummy was much stronger than the holy lord of the sorcerer tribe. Zhuowen knew that the green-haired mummy must have fully recovered during the time he was separated from it. Otherwise, the holy master of the sorcerer tribe would not be so afraid of it. Moreover, the green-furred mummy had screwed him over in the past. The main reason why the Eastern Emperor Taiyi had appeared and controlled the 8 heavens was because the green-furred corpse had taken something from the 9-storied pagoda, causing the seal on the Eastern Emperor Taiyi to break. This guy was a troublemaker. Now that he appeared in front of him, Zhuowen had to try his best not to be recognized by this guy. The green-haired mummy sized up Zhuowen. At first, it was puzzled, but soon, the smile on its face grew wider and wider. This is a criminal of the sorcerer tribe. You can judge him. I'll just watch, the green-furred mummy said flatly. The holy master of the sorcerer tribe nodded and gave Wu Wuxian, the grand priest, a look, indicating for her to begin. Long Wen, you knowingly broke the law and destroyed the buildings within a 10-mile radius of the sorcerer god city. You even injured many of our friends. Do you know your crime? Wu Wuxian said in a low voice. I know my crime. Zhuowen only wanted to get away from the green-furred mummy as soon as possible, so he did not quibble and admitted his crime without hesitation. Wu Wuxian was stunned. She did not expect Long Wen to admit his crime so quickly. Since you know your crime, I won't make things difficult for you. Put this guy in the dungeon first. Wu Wuxian gave the young Jiao He a look. Originally, she had wanted to ask Zhuowen to hand over his spiritual ring in the main hall of the sorcerer tribe. She was sure that there were many heaven-level elixirs and other good things in his spiritual ring. Heaven-level elixirs were much rarer in the untainted heavenly realm than in the Xian Mi heavenly realm. Even the sorcerer tribe did not have many heaven-level elixirs, and some big clans did not even have any. Since Zhuowen could easily take out transcending heaven-grade divine pills to trade, he definitely had a lot of such divine pills on him. What Wu Wuxian coveted even more was Zhuowen's soul sword intent secret technique. That kind of secret technique was even rarer than a transcendent divine pill. She wouldn't let it go. However, the green-furred mummy was an outsider, so she could not say these words now. Once Long Wen was locked up in the dungeon, she would seize Zhuowen's spirit ring and carefully examine it to see if there were any other secrets in it. Wait, the green-furred mummy suddenly said. The young Jiao He, who had wanted to take Zhuowen away, could not help but stop and look at Wu Wuxian and the holy master of the sorcerer tribe to ask for their opinion. Senior, what do you want? The holy master of the sorcerer tribe asked cautiously. I'm quite interested in this boy. Why don't you give him to me? The green-furred mummy said casually. The holy master of the sorcerer tribe frowned and looked a little unhappy, but he did not dare to offend the green-furred mummy. Wu Wuxian also knew how terrifying the green-furred mummy was. After thinking for a while, she said, if you're interested, we can give him to you. However, this boy took something very important to the sorcerer tribe and hid it in his spiritual ring. We can give him to you, but we want to take his spiritual ring, Wu Wuxian said. I'm only interested in this boy. You can do whatever you want with the spiritual ring. The green-furred mummy did not care. Thank you, senior. Wu Wuxian smiled and cupped his hands. Then, he rushed to Zhuowen's side and took the spirit ring from Zhuowen's hand. Then, He carried Zhuowen to the green-furred mummy and handed him over. "I'll take this boy back." The green-furred mummy took Zhuowen out of the hall and into the depths of the hall. After the green-furred mummy left, the holy master of the sorcerer tribe sent a message to Wu Wuxian and asked, "High priest, does this boy's spiritual ring really have a large number of divine elixirs and powerful divine soul secret skills?" "It's true. This boy is just a disciple of a small tribe, but he was able to defeat Shifu and Feng Bumming. He has a big secret. In addition, this boy took out a divine elixir at the middle stage of divine elixir to trade with Xingyuan at the trade fair." From this, it can be seen that this boy's foundation is not to be underestimated. This is also the reason why I tried so hard to take his spiritual ring. However, this boy's spiritual ring has an extremely powerful restriction. This restriction is very complicated and troublesome. I'm afraid it will take me at least 4 or 5 days to break it, Wu Wuxian said in a low voice. "That's good. You can decide this matter. When the time comes, I won't treat you badly." The holy master of the sorcerer tribe nodded and turned to enter the depths of the hall. After the holy master of the sorcerer tribe left, Wu Wuxian looked at Corpse Enma and the others below and said, "Everyone, there is a very powerful restriction in the spiritual ring. I will need at least 4 or 5 days to break it. After I break it, all of you will have a share. If you are worried, you can follow me during this time. Haha, this is a serious matter. I plan to follow the high priest." Corpse Enma smiled and cupped his hands. The 3 tribe leaders of the Dragon Tribe, Mermaid Tribe, and Black Tiger Tribe also expressed Corpse Enma's intention. However, Feng Leluor of the Phoenix people was willing to give up this time's share. She hoped that the high priest would give Feng Bumming a place to enter the wizard's magical pond. Chapter 3355, The 5 Decay of Heaven and Man. In the dark room, the green-haired mummy sized up Zhuowen. "You're interesting. With the body of a mere human, you dare to enter the Eldritch Heaven realm. You are quite bold. Your concealment technique is also interesting. You even fooled the Saint Master of the Sorcerer Tribe. Unfortunately, you can't fool me." The green-haired mummy laughed strangely. Zhuowen looked calm. When the green-haired mummy saw him, he knew that the mummy had recognized him. It was his human original body that appeared in front of the green-haired mummy. He relied on the powerful concealment technique of the undying bird to cover his aura completely. This was how he managed to fool the high priest and the others. As for the Pangu sacred body avatar, he placed it in the macro world. The macro world turned into a speck of dust and was placed on Purple Star Sovereign. The great world was Zhuowen's secret. This kind of space was not an ordinary storage space, but a world that gave birth to its own laws. The living beings in this world were completely self-sufficient, which was extremely rare. It was because of the macro world that Zhuowen used the trick of injuring himself to let his human original body enter the main hall of the sorcerer tribe with the Yangshi couple and admit his guilt. He knew that as long as his avatar could advance smoothly and enter the place where Pangu had fallen to obtain the other part of the legacy, he would not be afraid of the sorcerer tribe. As for his human original body, he was not worried. Neither the high priest Wu Wuxian nor the saint lord of the sorcerer tribe knew that Zhuowen was a powerful divine array master at the heaven level. If they had known, they would not have been so careless as to just lock him up in the dungeon. This was because he had already prepared a temporary teleportation formation. As long as Wu Wuxian noticed that something was wrong with the spiritual ring, he would immediately use the temporary teleportation formation to teleport directly to the inn where the 4 formations were set up. However, there was a variable, and that was the green-haired mummy in front of him. Zhuowen knew that when Wu Wuxian mentioned that the Holy Lord of the Sorcerer Tribe was receiving an important guest, he was probably talking about this green-haired mummy. "Did you call me here just to tell me this?" Zhuowen's gaze was calm as he asked indifferently. "That's not it. You came to the Sorcerer Tribe for the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses hidden by the Sorcerer Tribe, right?" The green-haired mummy laughed. Zhuowen frowned slightly and sighed. "So what if I am? Now that I've already failed and been captured here, I'm no different from a prisoner. There's no way I can come into contact with the corpses of the 3 grand shamans. Hihi, I remember that you have a doppelganger. Right now, you only have your original human body in front of me, but your doppelganger isn't here. The green-haired mummy sneered. Sigh. You also know that the great desolate heavenly realm is full of difficulties. My clone fell in the great desolate heavenly realm, and now only this human body is left. Zhuowen sighed. His doppelganger entering the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond was a very important part of his plan. He would never allow the green-haired mummy to ruin it. Green Hat, you tricked me on purpose, didn't you? You took away the bead on the 9-story pagoda, drew out the East Emperor Tai, and involved the entire 8 heavens in a catastrophe. What's that bead? Zhuowen didn't want to be entangled in the issue of his doppelganger, so he changed the topic. Don't call me Green Hat anymore. If you dare to call me that again, I'll kill you directly, the green-haired mummy said in an unfriendly tone. Zhuowen shrugged and stopped calling the green-haired mummy by his nickname. Instead, he continued, the holy master of the sorcerer tribe should be at the peak of the sky-reaching master, right? He's so respectful in front of you. Could it be that you've broken through the heavens? The green-haired mummy sneered and said, ignorant fool, you're not doing anything. Let me tell you clearly, I'm still a distance away from breaking through the heavens. You're not breaking through the heavens, but you're stronger than the peak of the sky-reaching master? Then what's your cultivation level? Zhuowen asked with a frown. Haha, although the peak of the sky-reaching master is only 1 step away from breaking through the heavens, it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens to take that step. Let me tell you the truth. If the peak of the sky-reaching master wants to break through the heavens, they have to go through 5 extremely terrifying disasters, and these disasters are usually called the 5 decay of heaven and man. Only by truly overcoming the decay of heaven and earth and breaking the shackles of heaven and earth can one be qualified to become the true master of heaven and earth, and then step into the heaven-breaking realm. The so-called decay is the exhaustion of the mind, the deterioration of the internal organs, skin, flesh, blood, and bones, the heavenly Tao, the collapse of spirituality, and extreme pain. In the end, one will be reduced to being neither human nor ghost. The 5 decay of heaven and man is also called half-step into the heaven-breaking realm. However, every time a cultivator passes a decay tribulation, their strength will also undergo a tremendous change. If they can't pass it, they'll definitely die. Although the holy master of the sorcerer tribe is at the peak of the sky-reaching master, he hasn't even passed a single decay tribulation, so how can he be compared to me? Oh! The peak of the sky-reaching master has to go through the 5 decay of heaven and man to reach the heaven-breaking realm? May I know how many decay tribulations you've passed? Zhuowen asked curiously. You're not qualified to ask about my cultivation level. You only need to know that I'm stronger than the holy master of the sorcerer tribe, and much stronger. However, the sorcerer tribe is the direct descendant of the sorcerer tribe after all, and their foundation is extremely deep. The sorcerer tribe doesn't only have the holy master of the sorcerer tribe, the green-haired mummy said lightly. The sorcerer tribe also has half-step into the heaven-breaking realm? Zhuowen asked with a frown. Of course there are. In the primitive heavenly realm, all the races with some foundation and a long history have half-step into the heaven-breaking realm powerhouses, and the human race in the Xianmi heavenly realm also has some half-step into the heaven-breaking realm. However, these powerhouses are basically not in these 2 heavenly realms, but hidden in the sky-reaching secret realm. That's a good place, I only heard about it recently. The green-haired mummy laughed strangely. Sky-reaching secret realm? Zhuowen's eyes flashed. He really didn't expect that under this starry sky, there really were powerhouses at the peak of the sky-reaching secret realm. Moreover, there were many of these powerhouses, but they were all in the sky-reaching secret realm. Although this secret was a little shocking, Zhuowen felt that it was reasonable after thinking about it. Since Pangu created the world, this starry sky had existed for too long. After such a long time, countless creatures had multiplied and cultivated, and generation after generation of peerless geniuses had naturally appeared. These geniuses couldn't have all died with the passage of time, and there must be some powerhouses left behind, and now he knew that these powerhouses were all in the sky-reaching secret realm. The sky-reaching secret realm was the world of the sky-reaching master, and the lowest threshold was the sky-reaching master, which showed that this world was definitely not simple. Moreover, Zhuowen also guessed that Pangu's strength should have been at the 5th decay of the celestial being 5 decay, very close to the heaven-breaking realm. There was no need to doubt Pangu's strength. Even if all the half-step into the heaven-breaking realm in this starry sky worked together, they still wouldn't be a match for Pangu. Moreover, Zhuowen had received Pangu's inheritance, and he knew that Pangu's bloodline was innate. Back then, Pangu was born from the chaos, and his strength was close to the heaven-breaking realm as soon as he was born. He broke open the chaos and created the starry sky. If Pangu hadn't been destroyed by the chaos, he would have probably been a supreme powerhouse of the heaven-breaking realm for countless years, and he would have broken open this starry sky and left long ago. Chapter 3356. Ancestral Sorcerer's Magical Pond. You didn't just take me back from the sorcerer tribe just to tell me this, did you? What do you want? Zhuowen looked at the green-haired mummy and asked. The green-haired mummy sneered and said, "What do I want? It's simple. I want the Pangu banner on you." Zhuowen sneered and said, "The Pangu banner has merged with me. You want the Pangu banner? Haha." The green-haired mummy said calmly, "I have a way to separate your divine soul from the Pangu banner, but it will take a lot of time and energy. I'll deal with you after I get the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses from the sorcerer tribe." After saying that, the green-haired mummy waved his right hand and green vines grew out from under Zhuowen's feet. They wrapped around Zhuowen's limbs and tied him to the giant pillar behind him. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He could feel that the power of the green vines was extremely powerful and terrifying. Even his doppelganger, who had cultivated the Pangu sacred body, would not be able to break free from the green vines, let alone his original body of the human race. "You'd better stay here obediently for the time being." After saying that, the green-haired mummy slowly walked out of the room. In an inn in the outer city of the sorcerer god city, Zhuowen's doppelganger, who was dressed in black, suddenly turned pale. "Brother Zhuo, what's wrong?" Crepe Star Sovereign, who was sitting cross-legged opposite Zhuowen, sensed that Zhuowen's aura was fluctuating, so he could not help but ask. "No, it's just that my human body ran into some trouble in the sorcerer tribe hall. But it doesn't matter. As long as my doppelganger can make further progress in the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond, these problems can be solved," Zhuowen said in a low voice. Yes, we can only wait for 3 days." Crepe Star Sovereign nodded. Time flew by and 3 days passed quickly. On this day, the inner city was bustling with noise and excitement because it was the day that the 12 geniuses selected by the Sorcerer Song Council would enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. Crepe Star Sovereign slowly stood up as Zhuowen's avatar opposite him entered the Great World. As for the Great World, it turned into a speck of dust that adhered to Crepe Star Sovereign's body. Meanwhile, Crepe Star Sovereign shot out like a bolt of lightning. The moment Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign flew out, divine wills swept over from every corner of Magus God City. These divine wills were extremely hostile. Crepe Myrtle Star naturally sensed the brazen divine wills. The corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile as he ignored them. He knew that since he was still in Sorcerer God City, the races that were eyeing him covetously would not dare to attack him openly. However, things would be different after he left the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond and left the Sorcerer God City. At that time, there would definitely be many experts of the foreign races following him because they guessed that he had secrets. After all, Crepe Myrtle Star was only a disciple of a small clan. He did not have a powerful backer or background. A soft persimmon like him was the favorite target of others. Soon, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign entered the inner city and arrived at the guarded ground where the sorcerer tribe's main hall was located. At this moment, the other 10 geniuses who had entered the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond had all arrived. These 10 people were Wu Xingyuan, Wu Shuran, and Wu Wenbin of the sorcerer tribe, Wu Chotong of the nine-tailed fox tribe, Tu Qian of the moon wolf tribe, Shou Kong of the space-time beast tribe, Xiong Gui of the giant tortoise tribe, Hu Teng of the black tiger tribe, Long Hui of the dragon tribe, and Jing Shan of the dragon tribe. Jing Shan's expression did not look too good. She already knew that Long Wen had been captured and brought to the sorcerer tribe's main hall. His fate was uncertain. She originally wanted to work with Long Wen to go to the place where Pangu fell. However, she did not expect such a turn of events. This made Jingshan sigh in her heart and blame Long Wen for being so careless. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign also saw another person who was not supposed to be here. It was Feng Bumming of the Phoenix people. At this moment, Feng Bumming was arrogant and his eyes were filled with excitement. His slot was simply a gift from the heavens. Ha ha, Long Wen, Long Wen. It's really karma and retribution. You cheated me out of a spot, and now this spot has finally fallen into my hands, hasn't it? Feng Bumming laughed heartily in his heart, feeling indescribably comfortable. Thinking of this, Feng Bumming cast a sidelong glance at Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. After entering the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond, if there was a chance, he planned to kill Long Wen's accomplice, Zixing, to vent his anger. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign's performance in the Sorcerer Song Gathering had always been average. Therefore, the other cultivators here thought that although Zixing's strength was not bad, there was still a gap between them and Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. At this moment, Wu Wuxian walked out of the Sorcerer Tribe's main hall. Behind him were Corpse Yinmarsh, Tiger Shaw, and the other 3 clan leaders. These 4 clan leaders had voluntarily stayed 3 days ago to watch Wu Wuxian break Shuowen's spiritual ring. However, the restrictions in the spiritual ring were very complicated. There were layers upon layers as if there was no end to them. In 3 days, Wu Wuxian had only managed to break 1/3 of them. Now that the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond was opening, Wu Wuxian could only give up on breaking the restrictions and focus on opening the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. She planned to continue breaking the restrictions after the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond was closed. Corpse Yinmarsh and the other 3 clan leaders also knew how difficult it was to break the restrictions on the surface of the spiritual ring. Even a formation expert like Wu Wuxian had difficulty breaking them. They knew that even if they obtained the spiritual ring, it would be useless if they could not break it. Now, they could only rely on Wu Wuxian. Everyone, congratulations on standing out in the Sorcerer Song Gathering. Now, I will open the entrance to the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. Once you enter, you will be baptized by the power of the ancestral sorcerer. However, there is a time limit. You can only stay for 10 days at most. After 10 days, the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond will naturally teleport you out. As Wu Wuxian spoke, he took out a token and threw it out. Instantly, the 12 ancestral sorcerer statues around the guarded ground emitted white light. They turned into a parabola and swept towards the center. Finally, the white light gathered in the center of the guarded ground and formed a white spiral vortex. The spiral vortex spun at an extremely fast speed and quickly spread out, forming a large circular hole. The 12 of you can go in, Wu Wuxian said calmly. As soon as Wu Wuxian finished speaking, Wu Xingyuan stomped his right foot and rushed into the circular hole. Then, Wu Shuran and Wu Wenbin followed closely behind. Seeing the 3 geniuses of the sorcerer tribe enter the hole without hesitation, Wu Qiutong and the other geniuses did not hesitate and rushed into the hole as well. Jingshan glanced at Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign indifferently. She was too lazy to say anything and followed closely behind the crowd. Chapter 3357. Restriction High Priest, are you really going to let Zixing enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond? Corpse Yinmarsh said unhappily as he watched Zixing disappear into the hole. Wu Wuxian glanced at Corpse Yinmarsh and said, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in Zixing. After the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond is over, I won't care what you do to him. As long as you don't attack him openly in Sorcerer God City. However, correspondingly, I must take the majority of the items in the dragon spiritual ring." Corpse Yinmarsh and the others looked at each other and nodded in agreement. They also knew that only Wu Wuxian could unlock the restriction on the ring. Moreover, they were in the sorcerer tribe's territory. If they objected, they might not be able to bear the consequences. After Myrtle Star Lord entered the hole, he sensed that the hole had closed the moment he entered. He landed on the ground and realized that he was in a valley. The valley was huge and spanned tens of thousands of miles. It was an unprecedentedly huge valley. In the middle of the valley, there was an extremely large pool of water. This pool of water looked turbid and unclear, as if it was churning in chaos. However, the moment Wu Xingyuan and the others saw the pool water, their eyes lit up. The energy in the pool water was too rich. It did not seem like the energy of the heavenly path. It was more like another type of energy of a higher level. Above the pool, white vein-like lines floated in the air, directly connecting to the distant sky above the valley. It was as if these lines had become a medium, transmitting some kind of powerful energy from the sky into the pool water. Those are the corpses of the ancestral sorcerer. Feng Bumming raised his head, his eyes full of shock as he looked at the end of the lines that were derived from the pool water. 3 incomparably huge corpses, which seemed to cover the sky and the sun, were quietly suspended high in the sky. Yes. This is the foundation of our sorcerer tribe. 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses. These 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses are Xian Ming, Rushu, and Qiong Liang. This pool water is a baptismal pool formed by the power of the ancestral sorcerer. We only have 10 days to be baptized in this baptismal pool. You'd better not miss this great opportunity. Wu Xuran proudly introduced the baptism pool in front of him, his voice filled with pride. Wu Xingyuan didn't say a word, and his gaze was cold and indifferent. He took a step into the baptism pool and started to circulate his cultivation technique. He relied on the energy of the ancestral shaman to start baptizing the blood, tendons, and bones in his body. When the others saw Wu Xingyuan taking the lead, they all jumped into the baptismal pool one after another. They only had 10 days of time within the ancestral shaman miraculous pond. In other words, they only had 10 days of time to undergo the baptism, and they couldn't waste it. Especially after entering the baptism pool, the rich energy surged towards them from all directions, making them feel comfortable and refreshed from head to toe. All the geniuses who had entered the pool were pleasantly surprised. In fact, there were even some geniuses who felt that their bottleneck had loosened during the process of the baptism, so they hurriedly began cultivating, hoping to make a breakthrough with the help of the baptism. Crepe Myrtle Star was still the last to enter the baptismal pool, but he was quickly stopped. Sigh. You don't have the right to enter the baptismal pool. The ones who stopped Ziwei Star Sovereign were Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin. The 2 of them looked at Ziwei Star Sovereign mockingly. Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin's actions immediately attracted the attention of the other geniuses in the baptismal pool. Feng Bumming's lips curled into a hideous grin, then he burst into unbridled laughter filled with mockery. Tu Qian of the Moon Wolf clan, Wu Chotong of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, and the other geniuses remained silent and watched coldly from the sidelines. Boring. Wu Xingyuan glanced at him indifferently and didn't care much. Instead, he closed his eyes again. He knew why Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin were targeting Ziwei Star Sovereign. It was all because of Wu Wuxian's orders. Although Wu Wuxian had promised Zhuoan to allow Ziwei Star to enter the ancestral shaman miraculous pond, he had secretly ordered Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin to stop Ziwei Star from undergoing the baptism. If necessary, it would not be impossible to directly destroy this purple star. Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin were sure that Ziwei Star would be enraged. When that happened, they would have a reason to eliminate Ziwei Star in one fell swoop. Ziwei Star Sovereign's eyes were cold. Just as he was about to make a move, his expression changed and he held himself back. He retreated a few dozen steps from the baptismal pool and sat on a large rock. He closed his eyes and sat cross-legged. Coward! Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin sneered and withdrew their attacks. They knew that there would be plenty of opportunities to deal with Ziwei Star Sovereign. There was no reason for them to make a move now. They focused on absorbing the energy of the baptismal pool. As expected of Longwen's friend, you really have guts. If you can swallow this, there will be nothing you can't swallow in the future. Ha ha. Feng Bumming laughed loudly. Tu Qian, Wu Chotong, and the others secretly shook their heads and ignored Ziwei Star Sovereign. It was a waste of time for them to care about such a coward. Ziwei Star Sovereign's eyes were as calm as water. He seemed to be meditating, but in fact, he was communicating with Zhuoan through divine thought. Brother Zhuo, why did you stop me just now? If I were to make a move, other than Wu Xingyuan, No one else would be a match for me. Ziwei Star Sovereign said with some dissatisfaction. Just now, when Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin were provoking him, Ziwei Star Sovereign wanted to make a move. However, he was stopped by Zhuowen, which made Ziwei Star Sovereign feel unbalanced. Brother Ziwei, we have time to deal with these people, but we came here to do business. I need to get close to the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses. If I'm not wrong, the 3 corpses should be surrounded by powerful restriction formations set up by Wu Wuxian. I need time to break the formation. It's unwise to start a conflict with these geniuses now. After I break the restriction formations around the ancestral sorcerer corpses and find what I need, it'll be time for us to make a move. In the macro world, Zhuowen sat cross-legged in the pavilion of the island in the lake and calmly communicated with Ziwei Star Sovereign through divine thought. Ziwei Star Sovereign could only nod and agree. He said through divine thought, in that case, I'll bear with it for a while. You go and check the ancestral sorcerer corpses. As soon as Ziwei Star Sovereign finished speaking, a speck of dust on his shoulder gradually floated up in the anti-gravity state and slowly approached the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses above the baptismal pool. Wu Xingyuan slowly opened his eyes and looked blankly at the sky above the baptismal pool that was covered with lines. For a moment, he actually felt a wave of fluctuation above the baptismal pool. Although the fluctuation was very weak, he was still keenly aware of it. Chapter 3358. I'm Zhuowen. Was it just my imagination? Wu Xingyuan muttered to himself. He extended his divine consciousness to sense the fluctuation just now, but he realized that there was nothing. In the end, Wu Xingyuan shook his head. After confirming that it was just his imagination, he focused on immersing himself in the baptismal pool and quickly improved his strength. Wu Xingyuan's divine sense is quite sharp. He sensed the fluctuation when the Great World entered the baptismal pool. A speck of dust floated a few hundred meters above the baptismal pool. Zhuowen, who was in the Great World, looked serious. However, after Wu Xingyuan stopped paying attention to him, he continued to control the speck of dust that was the Great World. Soon, Zhuowen was tens of thousands of meters above the Great World. At that moment, the corpses of the 3 wizard ancestors were very close. However, when the speck of dust formed by the Great World approached the corpses of the 3 wizard ancestors, it was blocked by an invisible and transparent energy. Zhuowen knew that this was the restriction set up by Wu Wuxian. He controlled the Great World and circled the corpses of the 3 wizard ancestors a few times. After careful observation, his face became extremely serious. He roughly observed and found that there were 81 restrictions set up around the corpses of the 3 wizard ancestors. Moreover, the level of each restriction was basically at the Heaven Ascension level. The wizard tribe is really cautious about these 3 wizard ancestors. They set up so many restrictions. Even if an ordinary Heaven Ascension Divine Formation Master were to come here, he would be helpless against such complicated restrictions. Zhuowen observed for a while and frowned as he shook his head. However, Zhuowen was not an ordinary Heaven Ascension Divine Formation Master. His formation Dao was inherited from the true record of elixir formation, the work of the Celestial Alchemy Formation Master. His level was far superior to other Formation Dao Masters of the same level. Moreover, Zhuowen had the ultimacy, Hongmeng Wuji. This ultimacy specialized in breaking restrictions. Coupled with his level of Formation Dao, it was not difficult for him to break the 81 restrictions. After understanding the 81 restrictions, Zhuowen was not in a hurry to break them. Instead, he controlled the Great World back to the shore of the baptismal pool and returned to the shoulder of the Star Sovereign. Brother Zhuo, why are you back so soon? The Star Sovereign, asked in surprise. The restrictions are quite the Great World. For me, they are not much. Therefore, I plan to get rid of the people here who are in my way first, and then slowly look for what I need. Zhuo Wen replied. The Star Sovereign's eyes, and was. He had been holding it in for so long and was very sullen. Now, Zhuo Wen's words made him feel much better. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign's laughter naturally alerted the other 11 geniuses in the baptismal pool. Was Star Sovereign, Star Woo Woo translation Woo and Purple Star translation Star translation and translation what? Now, he actually dared to laugh out loud. Was he intentionally trying to disturb them? Translation, Star, was translation to be. I wanted to let you go, but you disturbed my cultivation. You deserve to die. Go to hell. Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin jumped out of the baptismal pool at the same time. They rushed towards the Star Sovereign like 2 bolts of lightning. Terrifying gales swept out. The surrounding time and space seemed to flow in reverse. Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin were very strong. They were both at the early stage of the Master of Heaven Ascension. When they joined forces, they could fight against an expert at the intermediate stage of the Master of Heaven Ascension. Wu Qiutong and the others looked at Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin in surprise. They felt that the 2 of them were making a big fuss. They were too cautious. The Star Sovereign snorted. He stomped his right foot and punched at Wu Xuran. He did not care about Wu Wenbin behind him. This idiot is trying to hit a rock with an egg. Wu Wenbin could not help but laugh when he saw the Star Sovereign attack Wu Xuran. He had given up defending himself. But soon, Wu Wenbin felt that something was wrong. When his attack neared Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch, a very bad feeling rose in his heart. He actually sensed an extremely terrifying energy behind Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch approaching him. Suddenly, a spiral vortex appeared on the Crepe Myrtle Star Lord's shoulder. A powerful fist energy blasted out from the vortex. The moment the fist and palm collided, Wu Wenbin felt that he was as small as an ant in front of the fist force. Then, his right fist exploded into a bloody mist. Wu Wenbin screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood. He flew back with his broken right arm. The moment he flew back, Wu Wenbin saw the fist force in the vortex disappear. A figure walked out. He was too familiar with this figure. It was Long Wen, who had been captured by their high priest. But how was this possible? How was this guy still alive? Right when Wu Wenbin's thoughts were running wild, Long Wen stomped his right foot and vanished on the spot as if he'd teleported. When Long Wen appeared again, he was already very close to him. So fast. Just as Wu Wenbin thought of these 2 words, Zhuo Wen's terrifying fist force blasted out again. It turned into a dense barrage of fist shadows in the air, all of which bombarded Wu Wenbin's body. Puff, 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 puff. The terrifying fist shadows landed on Wu Wenbin's body. Puffs of bloody mist burst out. It looked miserable and ferocious. Wu Wenbin's consciousness was blurred. The pain in his body was numb. When he forced his eyes open, a huge fist became bigger and bigger in his eyes. Finally, it blasted between his eyebrows. Intense pain assaulted him. Then, Wu Wenbin's vision turned completely dark. Puff. Wu Wenbin was almost instantly killed. He fell to the ground and his divine soul was destroyed. Not long after Wu Wenbin was killed, Wu Xuran also screamed. His body was torn in half by the Star Sovereign. His divine soul was destroyed and his corpse was badly damaged. The moment Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin were killed, all the geniuses in the baptismal pool opened their eyes. They looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Wu Xuran and Wu Wenbin had just made a move and they were killed in an instant. This purple Star Sovereign was too terrifying. But soon, they saw another figure beside Wu Wenbin's body. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was because they were not unfamiliar with this figure. Instead, they were all too familiar with it. This was because he was Long Wen, who was captured by the sorcerer tribe. This. What's going on? Could it be that my eyes are playing tricks on me? Why would this dragon text appear here? Feng Bumming rubbed his eyes hard. The moment he opened his eyes, his neck was grabbed tightly by a big hand. Then, he was lifted out of the baptismal pool. His feet were suspended in the air and he kept swinging. Now, come closer and take a closer look. See if you're seeing things. Zhuowen lifted Feng Bumming. His tone was as calm as water. But in Feng Bumming's ears, it was so cold that he trembled. "It's really you, Long Wen." Feng Bumming's eyes widened and his voice was sharp. "Feng Bumming, I have another surprise for you. My original name is not Long Wen, but Zhuowen." Zhuowen suddenly sent a message to Feng Bumming with a smile. Feng Bumming's body trembled. He stared at Zhuowen and blurted out, "You're Zhuo." Chapter 33:59. Clean and tidy. Bang. Zhuowen casually threw Feng Bumming's body aside and looked disdainfully at the rest of the geniuses in the baptismal pool. Standing beside Zhuowen, Crepe Star Lord looked coldly at the geniuses who had mocked him. His gaze was as cold as frost, making the geniuses feel uneasy. Wu Qiutong, Tu Qian and the rest of the geniuses were dumbfounded. They looked at Zhuowen with their mouths slightly agape. They could not believe that Zhuowen had sneaked into the ancestral sorcerer magical pond. Wasn't he captured by the high priest Wu Wuxian? Jing Shan, who was in the baptismal pool, looked at Zhuowen with surprise. She did not expect Zhuowen to enter the ancestral sorcerer magical pond. What an incredible guy! Wu Xingyuan slowly stood up from the baptismal pool. His calm gaze was filled with frost. The killing intent was like a mighty pressure, spreading out with a rumble, instantly filling the entire valley. "Long Wen, how dare you kill the geniuses of the sorcerer tribe?" Wu Xingyuan was furious. His voice fluctuated and was extremely stern. An extremely vast and terrifying aura surged out of Wu Xingyuan's body. The entire baptismal pool began to boil. Countless turbid liquids surged out like angry dragons, spreading in all directions. Wu Xingyuan was in the middle of the berserk liquid. His long hair fluttered like a peerless demon god. Wu Xingyuan has released his killing intent. Long Wen is in trouble. Tu Qian from the Moonwolf clan hid to the side and looked at Wu Xingyuan solemnly. He originally thought that the gap between him and Wu Xingyuan was not too big, so he had always regarded Wu Xingyuan as a competitor. But now, after Wu Xingyuan released all his aura, he realized that he was too naive. There was no doubt that Wu Xingyuan was terrifying. He was much stronger than he had expected. Just the aura alone made Tu Qian feel that Wu Xingyuan was unreachable and terrifying. Tu Qian knew that if he were to fight with Wu Xingyuan now, he would definitely be defeated. As for that Long Wen, he admitted that although his strength was not bad, but at most, it was on par with him. He naturally did not think that Long Wen would be a match for this Wu Xingyuan. "Brother Zhuo, let me deal with this Wu Xingyuan." Purple Star Sovereign took the lead and stood in front of Zhuowen, intending to fight Wu Xingyuan. "Brother Ziwei, I'll have to trouble you then. I still need to settle some old scores with a few people. Hold off Wu Xingyuan for a while." Zhuowen nodded, his gaze falling on Hu Teng and Long Hui. Back then, there were a total of 5 races that had ambushed him and slandered him. They were the Gaul race, the Phoenix people, the Dragon race, the Black Tiger race, and the Merfolk race. Shi Fu from the Corpse race and Feng Bumming from the Phoenix people had already been killed by him. Meanwhile, the genius from the Merman race had been eliminated by Jing Shan and was not qualified to enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. Only Hu Teng of the Black Tiger clan and Long Hui of the Dragon clan were left on the baptismal pool. From the moment Zhuowen entered the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond, he had no intention of letting these 2 people go. Hu Teng and Long Hui naturally felt Zhuowen's unfriendly gaze. Both of them immediately put on alert and stared at Zhuowen. The scene of Zhuo when domineeringly annihilating Wu Wenbin earlier was still vivid in their minds even now. Their strength was on par with Wu Wenbin. Since Long Wen could easily kill Wu Wenbin, it was naturally more than enough to deal with the 2 of them. Bang! At this moment, Wu Xingyuan and Purple Star Sovereign clashed violently. Terrifying energy ripples burst out, giving rise to a blazing and glaring light that spread in all directions. Thump! 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 Both Wu Xingyuan and Purple Star Sovereign retreated dozens of steps. However, Wu Xingyuan was obviously at a disadvantage. His face was pale. Wu Xingyuan was shocked. He stared at Purple Star Sovereign and said in a deep voice, "Your cultivation is actually at the late stage of the sky-piercing master." All the geniuses in the baptismal pool were shocked. They couldn't believe Wu Xingyuan's words. A mere disciple of a small clan, Purple Star, was actually at the late stage of the sky-piercing master. This was equivalent to the strength of their respective clan leaders. How was this possible? When Wu Xingyuan was at a disadvantage just now, they naturally saw it with their own eyes. Wu Xingyuan was a mid-stage sky-piercing master expert. His strength was much stronger than the average mid-stage sky-piercing master expert. Only a late-stage sky-piercing master expert could suppress him. Since Purple Star could make Wu Xingyuan fall into a disadvantage, it was obvious that he was a late-stage sky-piercing master expert. Long Hui and Hu Teng were dumbstruck. They were truly terrified. With Long Wen's strength and Purple Star's late-stage sky-piercing master expert, they were going to crush all the geniuses present. Come out and die. Zhuowen stood at the edge of the baptismal pool, looking at Long Hui and Hu Teng. Long Hui and Hu Teng looked at each other. They could see that Long Wen wanted to kill them, so they could only fight with their lives on the line. In any case, they were both early-stage sky-piercing master experts. When they joined forces, their strength was not bad. Long Wen might not be a match for the two of them. You, die for me. Hu Teng and Long Hui rushed out, splitting into two directions, and flanked Zhuowen. One in front and one behind, they cooperated well. Long Hui's entire body emitted a blazing light, and a powerful and terrifying dragon shadow appeared around him. It was as if he was a giant dragon that had existed since ancient times. Hu Ting was enveloped by a huge tiger shadow, like a huge tiger coming down the mountain to hunt. The tiger's roar shook the sky, and the wind was bitingly cold. A dragon and a tiger, intertwined with each other, with the power to destroy heaven and earth. They quickly surrounded Zhuowen and slammed into each other. Instantly, it was as if a dragon and a tiger were fighting. A terrifying explosion erupted in the surroundings, and Zhuowen was at the center of the explosion. The power was vast and mighty, completely drowning Zhuowen. Hee. This kid is dead for sure. In the midst of Long Hu's explosion, Hu Teng and Long Hui looked at each other and smiled. Under their combined attacks, they didn't think that Long Wen could survive. So this is your final attack. Hee, you can't even withstand a single blow. An indifferent voice rang out from the center of the explosion. Then, a figure slowly walked out. Hu Teng and Long Hui sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw the figure. The figure was none other than Zhuowen. The mysterious light of creation circulated around Zhuowen's body, resisting the terrifying explosion around him. His body was unscathed, and there was not a speck of dust on him. Retreat. Hu Teng and Long Hui knew that things were not going well. They quickly retreated, wanting to get away from Zhuowen. Unfortunately, how could Zhuowen let them do as they wished? Zhuowen clenched his hands and used the sky-splitting blade ultimacy. A dazzling white blade shadow appeared in each of his hands. Whoosh. Chapter 3360. Escape Pucci. Hu Teng and Long Hui were directly penetrated and nailed to the ground. They struggled but could not break free. Ever since he advanced to half-step 8-star, the might of Zhuowen's sky-opening blade had once again risen by a level. Wanting to block this sky-opening blade with just Hu Teng and Long Hui was simply wishful thinking. Zhuowen slowly came in front of Hu Teng and Long Hui and looked down at them indifferently. Long Wen, we have the Dragon Race and Black Tiger Race behind us. If you don't want to die, it's best not to offend us. Don't kill us or you will regret it. Long Hui shouted. He smelled the scent of death. You want me to regret it? With the Dragon Race and Black Tiger Race behind you? I even killed Shifu of the Corpse Race and Feng Bumming of the Phoenix people. 2 more of you won't make much of a difference. Die for me. Zhuowen sneered again and again. His hands formed sword fingers and quickly pointed at Long Hui and Hu Teng's forehead. Pucci. Long Hui and Hu Teng's forehead exploded with bloody holes. Then their vitality completely dissipated into nothingness. After Zhuowen killed Long Hui and Hu Teng, he noticed that the battle between the Purple Star Sovereign and Wu Xingyuan had reached its climax. Although Wu Xingyuan had been at a disadvantage in the beginning of the battle with Crepe Myrtle Starlord, he had been at a disadvantage. But later, Wu Xingyuan unleashed the power of an 8-star wizard body. Coupled with the cultivation of a mid-stage Tongtian Lord, his strength actually rose by a large margin. He was actually evenly matched with an expert like Crepe Myrtle Star. It was precisely because the battle between Wu Xingyuan and the Purple Star Sovereign was too earth-shattering. The attention of the other geniuses was all attracted by the battle between the two and ignored Zhuowen. As a result, they did not notice that Zhuowen had killed Hu Teng and Long Hui. This Wu Xingyuan is really extraordinary. He is actually evenly matched with Brother Purple Star. Zhuowen's eyes were grave. He knew how powerful the Purple Star Sovereign was. Although Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign had just advanced to the late stage of the sky-reaching Master Realm, he had obtained the inheritance of the Undying Bird. His battle prowess was earth-shattering. Back then, the Phoenix Master of the Phoenix People, Feng Leluor, a veteran late-stage Heaven Ascension Master, was only able to suppress the Purple Star Sovereign. It was simply impossible for her to kill him. However, Wu Xingyuan was only a middle-stage Master of Heaven, yet he was evenly matched with Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch. From this, one could see how powerful Wu Xingyuan was. Zhuowen knew that with Wu Xingyuan and Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch's condition, it would be impossible to determine the victor if they continued to fight. Zhuowen took out the Huyi Divine Arrow and Huyi Divine Bow. He narked the arrow on the bowstring and pulled the bowstring to 3/4 of an arc rumble. A thunderous sound exploded in the air. The Huyi Godly Arrow and Huyi Godly Bow suddenly exploded with a terrifying sound, bringing with them shocking killing intent. This killing intent was too terrifying. Like a tide, it instantly flooded the entire valley. The other geniuses, who were originally focused on the battle between Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch and Wu Xingyuan, all sensed this killing intent. Their gazes fell on the Huyi Godly Arrow and Huyi Godly Bow in Zhuowen's hands. That's the Huyi Godly Arrow. Long Wen actually has such a treasure, Wu Qiutong blurted out when she recognized the Huyi Godly Arrow. This guy doesn't just have the Huyi Godly Arrow, he also has the Huyi Godly Bow. This guy's luck is too great. He actually has the complete divine artifact of the most powerful Wu Hoi. It's extremely powerful. He's going to support Purple Star. Tu Qian of the Moon Wolf clan said with a grave expression. The remaining Spacetime Beast clans Xiu Kong and Giant Turtle clans Xiong didn't dare to speak at all. They looked at Zhuowen with fear. This was because not only did they notice the Huyi Godly Bow and Huyi Godly Arrow in Zhuowen's hands, but they also noticed the dead bodies of Long Hui and Hu Ting not far from Zhuowen's feet. It hadn't been long, but Long Wen had already killed Long Hui and Hu Teng. This was too efficient. Wu Xingyuan, who was fighting with Purple Star Monarch, also felt the terrifying killing intent. This murderous intent was like a tidal wave, sweeping over from all directions, drowning his entire being, as if it had blocked all his escape routes. The pressure was so strong that Wu Xingyuan immediately began to retreat. Unfortunately, Purple Star Monarch wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He suddenly stepped forward and entangled Wu Xingyuan, making Wu Xingyuan an obedient target for Zhuowen. Whoosh! The moment Wu Xingyuan was entangled by Purple Star Monarch, a terrifying air-piercing sound instantly resounded. Then, Zhuowen released the bowstring, and the Huyi Godly Arrow pierced through the sky, instantly arriving in front of Wu Xingyuan with unparalleled killing intent. Wu Xingyuan suddenly shouted, clenching his right hand into a fist and punching out. The air exploded, and a powerful airflow accompanied by energy formed an extremely terrifying phantom behind him. This illusory figure was the illusory figure of a giant. It was at least 10,000 zhong tall, and it shook the heavens and earth. The terrifying pressure formed a terrifying storm that crushed down on the entire valley. Boom! The moment the fist collided with the Huyi Godly Arrow, an extremely terrifying explosion erupted. Poochie! Unfortunately, the Huyi Godly Arrow was too terrifying, and it tore apart the giant phantom behind Wu Xingyuan. Moreover, the Godly Arrow pierced through Wu Xingyuan's right arm in a spurt of energy, causing his right arm to explode into a cloud of blood mist that was annihilated in the void. Wu Xingyuan spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was unbelievably pale. Purple Star Monarch took advantage of this opportunity to instantly approach Wu Xingyuan. Clenching his right fist, he ruthlessly punched Wu Xingyuan's chest. Wu Xingyuan raised his other arm, as if he was about to block Purple Star Monarch's attack. Unfortunately, he was too hasty, so his left arm was fractured, and he rapidly fell down like a meteor. Long Wen, I will remember you. I, Wu Xingyuan, swear that I will not rest until you are dead. The moment Wu Xingyuan fell into the ground, he took out a golden talisman and crushed it. With a whoosh, the moment the talisman was crushed, Wu Xingyuan instantly disappeared from the valley. It's an escape talisman, and an extremely advanced one. Purple Star Monarch landed at the place where Wu Xingyuan fell, and his eyes were solemn as he spoke to Zhuowen. Zhuowen nodded and put away the Huyi godly bow and Huyi godly arrow. Wu Xingyuan deserved to be called the #1 genius of the sorcerer tribe. He was so powerful that even Purple Star Monarch could not take him down. In the end, he and Purple Star Monarch joined forces to severely injure him. This made Zhuowen think highly of Wu Xingyuan. The world of the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond is self-contained and isolated from the outside world. No matter how powerful Wu Xingyuan's escape talisman is, it is impossible for him to directly tear apart this small world and leave here to reach the outside world. Wu Xingyuan should be hiding somewhere in this small world. Should we go and search for him? Purple Star Monarch looked at Zhuowen and asked in a deep voice. No need, I still have important business to attend to. Wu Xingyuan will eventually come across us. When that time comes, I will kill him. Zhuowen shook his head and said. Chapter 3361. 3 venomous insects at this moment, only Tu Qian from the Moon Wolf clan, Wu Qiutong from the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, Xiong Gui from the Giant Tortoise clan, Xiu Kong from the Spacetime Beast clan, and Jing Shan were left in the baptismal pool. Apart from Jing Shan, the other 4 geniuses stayed far away from Zhuowen. Their eyes were filled with dread as they looked at Zhuowen. Jing Shan walked to Zhuowen with a smile and said, Fellow cultivator Long, you really hid your strength well. I didn't expect you to have such powerful strength. Jing Shan underestimated you. You are indeed the person I chose. Fellow cultivator Jing Shan, I still have some things to do. I will discuss with you about the teleportation formation after I'm done with it. Zhuowen said and pointed to the baptismal pool next to him. The ancestral sorcerer power in the baptismal pool is very strong. You can cultivate in the baptismal pool during this period. After saying that, Zhuowen looked at Tu Qian and the other 3, who were not far away with fear in their eyes, and said, Fellow cultivators, I attacked just now because the 3 geniuses of the sorcerer clan were too overbearing and wanted to kill me. Since they bullied me, I, Zhuowen, am not a pushover, so I returned an eye for an eye. As for Hu Teng and Long Hui, it was because their clans wronged me first, so I took some interest from them. I have no enmity with you, so I will not target you. You can continue with the baptismal pool, I will take my leave first. Zhuowen smiled kindly at Tu Qian and the other 3, then flew to the sky above the baptismal pool. Although Zhuowen was decisive and ruthless, he was not stupid. The Sorcerer Tribe, Corpse Ghost Tribe, Black Tiger Tribe, Dragon Tribe, Phoenix Tribe, and Mermaid Tribe had openly opposed him and even made a move on him. They already had great enmity with him, so Zhuowen naturally wouldn't be nice to these 6 tribes. He would kill if he could. However, the Moon Wolf race, Nine-Tailed Fox race, Giant Tortoise race, and Spacetime Beast race had not done anything to Zhuowen, nor did they have any enmity with him. Naturally, Zhuowen would not become enemies with these 4 races for no reason. Although he was confident that his Pangu sacred body had improved further and his strength was invincible, he would be courting death if he offended the top 10 races of the untainted heavenly realm at the same time. After all, the Wu tribe alone was enough for him to deal with. Tu Qian, Wu Qiutong, and the others looked at each other. They still found it somewhat hard to believe that Long Wen would actually let him go just like that. Tu Qian was very decisive. He understood Zhuowen's intentions. He knew that Zhuowen didn't want to offend them and the races behind them, so he jumped into the baptismal pool and began to cultivate to his heart's content. Entering the ancestral shaman miraculous pool and being cleansed by the ancestral shaman energy was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to them, and he wouldn't let this opportunity slip away from his hands for nothing. Wu Qiutong and the other two also came to their senses and understood Zhuowen's meaning. They no longer had any misgivings and jumped into the baptismal pool. However, in their hearts, they were certain that they would never casually provoke Long Wen in the future. Otherwise, they were afraid that they would be in big trouble. After all, Long Wen had repeatedly exceeded their expectations. Not only did he use some means to sneak into the ancestral shaman miraculous pool, but even the number one genius of the Wu tribe, Wu Xingyuan, was defeated by him. It was really unbelievable. When Jingshan saw Zhuowen rushing toward the baptismal pool, she thought of something and said in a deep voice, "Taoist friend Purple Star, is Taoist friend Long planning to get close to the 3 ancestral shaman corpses?" Purple Star Sovereign glanced at Jingshan and said lightly, "Taoist friend Jingshan, you'd better go back to the baptismal pool to cultivate first. Brother Long has his own purpose. We don't need to care about this." Jingshan frowned slightly. She was a little anxious. She wanted to follow Long Wen and see what he was doing. However, Crepe Myrtle Star was watching her closely. Just now, she had already seen the powerful strength of the Purple Star Sovereign. She knew that even if she used all her strength, she might not be able to escape from the Purple Star Sovereign. Moreover, she would offend the 2 terrifying experts, Zhuo Wen and the Purple Star Sovereign. After thinking about it again and again, Jingshan sighed and returned to the baptismal pool. However, she did not relax her divine sense and kept observing Zhuowen in the sky. Not only Jingshan, but Tu Qian and the others who were cultivating in the baptismal pool also separated a part of their divine sense and kept observing Zhuowen. They were also curious about what Zhuowen was up to. When Zhuowen approached the 3 ancestral shaman corpses, he noticed the divine sense of Jingshan and the others. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He took out the beast bone array disc and set up a huge divine sense shielding array below him, blocking the divine sense of Jingshan and the others. Then, he began to crack the complicated restriction on the surface of the 3 ancestral shaman corpses. This guy is also a divine array master. He actually set up a shielding array. Moreover, this shielding array is of a very high level. It's definitely not simple, Jingshan muttered to herself with a solemn expression. After discovering that Zhuowen had casually set up a high-level shielding array, Jingshan was unable to calm down for a long time. She could not see through Long Wen anymore. The strength that Long Wen displayed was far beyond her expectations. Moreover, this guy was also a divine array master with such a high level. It was simply unreasonable. Tu Qian and the others were also shocked. They retracted their divine sense one after another. They knew that their divine sense had been discovered. If they continued to recklessly investigate, they would only make Long Wen unhappy. Time passed slowly. 2 days later, Zhuowen suddenly opened his eyes. The beast bone array disc that was hovering above him turned into a huge, impactful whirlpool and violently blasted on the restriction on the surface of the 3 ancestral shaman corpses. The restriction looked like fish scales. It actually formed layers upon layers of fragments that gave off dense light spots. It looked extremely gorgeous and dazzling in the air. Boom, boom, boom. In the end, the restriction on the surface of the 3 ancestral shaman corpses collapsed and were annihilated into nothingness. The huge explosion caused by the collapse sent Zhuowen flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was extremely pale. Fortunately, Zhuowen had set up a defensive formation around him in advance. It blocked the impact caused by the explosion of the restriction. Otherwise, Zhuowen would be even more miserable than he was now. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Zhuowen looked at the 3 ancestral shaman corpses that appeared in front of him with bright eyes. Zhuowen stomped his right foot and landed on one of the ancestral shaman corpses. This ancestral shaman corpse had the face of a human and the body of a tiger. It was covered in golden scales and had a pair of wings on its shoulder blades. It had a snake piercing through its left ear and 2 dragons under its feet. It was Yu Shou, one of the 12 ancestral shamans. Unfortunately, Yu Shou had already become a cold corpse. The two dragons under his feet and the fierce snake piercing through his left ear had already fallen. They had become cold corpses without any signs of life. Zhuowen's blood was boiling. The moment he approached Yu Shou, he sensed the aura of the ancestral shaman Jiyu. It was the Jiyu inside Yu Shou. However, Zhuowen was not in a hurry to capture the Jiyu. He could sense that the Jiyu in the three ancestral shaman corpses should be in a deep slumber. The ancestral shaman had fallen so long ago. If the Jiyu wanted to survive, they could only choose to sleep to reduce the consumption of energy. Zhuowen knew very well that if he were to capture them now, the ancestral shaman Jiyu would awaken and flee with all their might. When that happened, he might not be able to capture all of them. Chapter 3362. Complete subjugation. Zhuowen had set up 3 heaven-crossing trapping formations and 7 creation trapping formations. These 10 formations complemented each other and formed a cycle. They were like an indestructible wall, powerful and terrifying. After doing all this, Zhuowen stood on Rushu's body again. He gently cut his finger and fresh blood dripped down. Then, Zhuowen calmly stood in place and waited quietly. He knew very well how tempting his Pangu sacred body's blood was to the ancestral sorcerer Jiyu worms. The sleeping ancestral sorcerer Jiyu worms in Rushu's body would definitely wake up and crawl out after sensing the Pangu sacred body's blood. Sure enough, Zhuowen soon sensed the aura of Rushu's Jiyu worms. A bloody hole suddenly appeared on Rushu's chest. A tiny black shadow, like a slender black lightning, streaked across the air and instantly arrived at the spot where Zhuowen's blood was dripping. Whoosh! What surprised Zhuowen was that other than Rushu's Jiyu worms, the Jiyu worms in the other 2 ancestral sorcerer corpses also crawled out and rushed toward him like 2 bolts of lightning. For a moment, the 3 Jiyu worms began to crazily compete for the drop of blood left by Zhuowen. Bang! 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 The 3 Jiyu worms fought fiercely. The powerful energy ripples forced Zhuowen to retreat. Zhuowen looked at the scene in a daze. He did not expect a drop of Pangu sacred body's blood to be so tempting to the ancestral sorcerer Jiyu worms. It was beyond his imagination. But soon, he realized that this was a wonderful opportunity. The 3 Jiyu worms were not simple. They were very powerful. If he wanted to subdue them alone, he would not be able to do it in a short time. However, if the 3 Jiyu worms fought each other and both sides were injured, Zhuowen would be the fisherman. The process of subduing them would be much simpler. Among the 3 Jiyu worms, other than Rushu's Jiyu worms, the other 2 were Xianming Jiyu worms and Qiangliang Jiyu worms. However, in the process of the 3 Jiyu worms fighting, Zhuowen could clearly see that the Rushu Jiyu and the mysterious Nether Jiyu were suppressed. Rushu grasped the power of metal, Xianming grasped the power of rain, and Qiangliang grasped the power of lightning. Qiangliang Jiyu was extremely powerful. As it flew, lightning punishment was unceasing. Lightning bolts filled the surrounding space, forming a terrifying and powerful lightning domain. The power of lightning was too terrifying. It was even more terrifying than the power of gold and rain. Thus, Xianming and Yu Shou, these 2 Jiyu worms, were heavily suppressed and their bodies were covered in injuries. Yu Shou Jiyu and Xianming Jiyu realized the strength of Strong Good Jiyu and joined hands to deal with Strong Good Jiyu. 2 against 1, they could only fight to a draw with a strong Jiyu worm. Zhuowen stood far away, silently observing all of this. He did not make a move, but tried his best to conceal his aura, not intending to let these 3 Jiyu worms sense his existence. Boom! 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 Suddenly, the 3 Jiyu worms collided fiercely. Strong Good Jiyu was ultimately no match for Yu Shou and the Xianming Jiyu. It was covered in injuries and was sent flying, losing most of its combat strength. Yu Shou Jiyu and the Xianming Jiyu did not take advantage of the situation to pursue. Instead, they immediately attacked each other, fighting for the drop of Pangu sacred body blood. Zhuowen quietly appeared the moment Qiangliang Jiyu was repelled. His palm suddenly shot out and grabbed Qiangliang Jiyu in his hand. Strong Good Gu's body was covered in lightning, but unfortunately, it was too weak. The power of lightning it released could not do much damage to Zhuowen. Zhuoan did not spend too much effort to subdue strong good Jiyu. After imprisoning it, he threw it into the macro world. At the same time, the fight between Yu Shou Jiyu and the Xianming Jiyu reached a climax. Both Jiyu worms were exhausted and gradually fell into a decline. In the end, Yu Shou Jiyu was slightly better. It sent the Xianming Jiyu flying and madly pouncing on the drop of Pangu sacred body blood. Unfortunately, just as the Rushu Jiyu reached the drop of blood essence, the blood essence was retracted by a palm. As for the other palm that blotted out the sky, it slammed the Rushu Jiyu to the ground. Yu Shou Jiyu screamed and was hit hard on the ground. It struggled with difficulty, but still could not get up. It was too tired. After subduing Yu Shou Jiyu, Zhuoan chased after the Xianming Jiyu, which realized that something was wrong and fled. Unfortunately, the Xianming Jiyu was in a bad state. Zhuoan caught up with it and almost killed it with one palm strike. He then caught it and threw it into the macro world. Phew! Finally, I have completely subdued these 3 ancestral sorcerer Jiyu. This time, the Pangu sacred body has hope of advancing to the 8 stars. Zhuoan's eyes shone brightly as he muttered to himself excitedly. Zhuoan did not immediately refine the 3 ancestral sorcerer Jiyu. Instead, he removed the formation in the air and directly put the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses into the macro world. Although Zhuoan's main goal was the ancestral sorcerer Jiyu, the energy in the corpses was still enormous, although there was not much left. Zhuoan planned to put the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses in the macro world to constantly nourish the macro world and perfect the rules of the macro world. After doing all this, Zhuoan slowly landed on the shore of the baptismal pool. When Zhuoan put away the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses, Jingshan, Tu Qian, and the others, who were originally cultivating in the baptismal pool, realized that something was wrong and suddenly opened their eyes. This was because they found that the energy in the baptismal pool was rapidly dissipating and eventually annihilating into nothingness. In other words, the baptismal pool had become a pool of wastewater with no energy to speak of. However, they soon found out why the baptismal pool had become like this. Their gazes all fell on the sky above the baptismal pool. They saw that it was empty. The 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses that were originally floating in the sky had disappeared. Everyone in the baptismal pool was stunned. They did not expect that the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses would disappear without a trace. Fellow Taoist Long, you took away the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses? Jingshan was the first to react. She looked at Zhuoan on the shore and asked in horror. Fellow Taoist Long, this is the foundation of the sorcerer tribe. You actually took it away. I'm afraid the sorcerer tribe will do their best to hunt you down. I advise fellow Taoist Long not to do anything stupid. Tu Qian shook his head and advised Zhuoan. Even if I didn't take away the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses, the sorcerer tribe will not let me go. Since that's the case, why should I be so indecisive? If anyone is dissatisfied, you can express it. If you are willing to stand up for the sorcerer tribe, then I, Long Wen, will accept it, Zhuoan sneered. On the other hand, Jingshan's face was gloomy. She looked at Zhuoan with a complicated gaze. She knew very well how complicated the restriction around the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses was. It was a complicated restriction that Wu Wuxian had spent many years to set up. However, Long Wen had only been there for a few days and he had already cracked it and taken away the 3 ancestral sorcerer corpses. This was really terrifying. Chapter 3363. Teleportation Formation. Tu Qian, Wu Qiutong, and the others looked at each other, not daring to answer Long Wen directly. Although they tried to persuade Long Wen to do so, they would rather not stand up for the sorcerer tribe. Zhuoan had shown such powerful strength just now, and they knew very well that if they were to go against Zhuoan, it would be like striking a stone with an egg. They were simply courting death. Even Jingshan fell silent. She could not see through Zhuoan, so she did not dare to offend Zhuoan, let alone stand on the opposite side of Zhuoan. Seeing that everyone was silent, Zhuoan shrugged, looked at Jingshan, and said, "How many days have passed since we entered the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond?" Jingshan said in a deep voice, 4 days. In 6 days, we will be teleported out of this space. There is still time. Since it's like that, then take me to that place, Zhuo Wen said. He had an agreement with Jingshan that there was a teleportation formation in the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond that was suspected to be the place where Pangu fell. Jingshan had sensed Pangu's aura on Zhuowen, so she planned to join forces with Zhuowen to activate the teleportation formation. Come with me. Jingshan nodded, and led Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star out of the valley. However, before Zhuowen left, he warned Tu Qian, Wu Qiutong, and the others not to follow, or else, he would not be polite to them. Tu Qian, Wu Qiutong, and the others naturally did not dare to follow, and they all agreed to follow. No matter how bold they were, they would not dare to go against Zhuowen, because that was simply courting death. Wu Xingyuan and the others were the best examples. After Jingshan led Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star out of the valley, they flew for half an hour outside, and arrived at a forest that shone with bright starlight. The space where the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond was located should be a different dimensional space built by the sorcerer tribe. Everything in it was against common sense. This forest defied common sense because on the surface of the tree trunks grew not ordinary leaves, but resplendent starlight. Jingshan landed in the depths of the resplendent starlight forest. Over there was a very ordinary pond. The water in the pool was clear and transparent. It was precisely because this pool was too ordinary that it seemed out of place in this starlight forest. In the depths of the pool, there is an underground cave. The teleportation array is hidden in the underground cave. Jingshan pointed at the pool and said, "Fellow Daoist Jingshan, how did you find such a secretive place?" Purple Myrtle Star Monarch asked with a strange expression. "As I said before, I have a special ability. I can sense Pangu's aura. When I first entered this space, I sensed Pangu's aura. I followed that aura and found the underground grotto under the pool," Jingshan said. Zhuowen sneered in his heart. He knew that Jingshan was just making things up. However, with his current strength, he was not afraid of Jingshan playing any tricks in front of him. After all, if they could really find the place where Pangu fell, it would definitely be a great surprise for Zhuowen. "Let's go in." Jingshan glanced at Zhuowen, and simply dived into the pool. Zhuowen and Purple Myrtle Star Monarch looked at each other and followed closely behind. Although they did not completely believe Jingshan's words, they knew that following her was the only strategy they could use. The pool was very deep. The three of them dived for half an incense stick's time before they finally found a tunnel at the bottom of the pool. Following the tunnel, they finally entered the underground grotto mentioned by Jingshan. The underground grotto was very large and gave people a sense of spaciousness. After entering the underground grotto, Jingshan led the way without saying a word. Since Jingshan did not say anything, Zhuowen and Purple Myrtle Star Monarch naturally did not try to start a conversation. Soon, Jingshan stopped and pointed to the front. "This is the teleportation array I was talking about." Zhuowen looked in the direction Jingshan pointed and saw an open space in front of them. On the open space, there was a large circular pattern drawn. It was blood-red in color and seemed to be drawn with blood. Around this formation, there were 12 bone spears. At the end of each bone spear, there was a skull inserted into it. The 12 skulls were grotesquely shaped and did not belong to the human clan. However, from the strong aura emitted from the skulls, it could be seen that the owners of the 12 skulls were definitely powerful experts in their previous lives. Zhuowen's gaze turned solemn. The moment he saw the 12 skulls, Zhuowen thought of sacrifices. These 12 experts should have been sacrificed alive to this array when they were alive. Although it was a long time ago, the bloody aura lingered in the air for a long time and was filled with an ominous feeling. This array was definitely not simple. Zhuowen had never heard of an array that required sacrifices. This was the first time he had seen one in his life. However, Zhuowen was an array master after all. He could see that the pattern of the blood-red array was indeed a teleportation array. Moreover, it was a very advanced teleportation array. However, the way this teleportation array was used made him very uncomfortable. "Fellow Daoist Jingshan, you have never opened this teleportation array. Why are you so sure that the destination of this teleportation array is the place where Pangu fell? Zhuowen looked at Jing Shan in confusion and asked the question in his heart. I said that I felt the strong aura of Pangu. Even if the other end of this teleportation array is not the place where Pangu fell, it must be something related to Pangu. As the founder of this starry sky, anything related to Pangu must be extraordinary. Are you not interested in it, fellow Daoist Long Wen? Jing Shan said with a smile. I am indeed interested. However, to be honest, this Long has also studied array Dao. I also observed this teleportation array just now. I found that this teleportation array is very profound. I can't understand it at all. Let alone find a way to open this teleportation array. Zhuowen said in a deep voice. Fellow Daoist Long, have you forgotten me? Although I am not proficient in array Dao, I have visited this place many times and recorded the appearance of this array. I have looked for many ancient books and array Dao masters. In the end, I found a way to open this teleportation array. Jing Shan said excitedly. What way? Zhuowen asked with interest. This array needs a descendant of Pangu's inheritance to open it with his blood, Jing Shan said in a deep voice. You mean, my blood is needed to open this teleportation array? You didn't mention this method before. Instead, you said that you couldn't do anything about this teleportation array. Let me check it out. Maybe I can find a way to open it, Zhuowen said with a frown. He felt that Jing Shan's words were different, which made him secretly vigilant. Moreover, he secretly observed this teleportation array and found that there was a very obscure killing intent hidden in this teleportation array. This was definitely not an ordinary teleportation array. Chapter 3364. Sigh, that's because I was afraid that you wouldn't believe me, so I lied to you before. In fact, I already knew the way to open this teleportation array, but I couldn't do it alone. I needed the blood of a successor of Pangu's inheritance like you, fellow Daoist Long. Jing Shan sighed softly. You're also a successor of Pangu's inheritance. You also have Pangu's inheritance. Zhuowen looked at Jing Shan in amazement and blurted out. Yes, I also obtained a part of Pangu's inheritance, which is why I could sense Pangu's aura on you at a glance. Even if you used a clever concealment method, we are of the same origin and naturally have the same aura, so it's not strange that I could sense it. To tell you the truth, if I had obtained more of Pangu's inheritance, I could also open this teleportation array by myself, but there's no other way. The inheritance I obtained is too little, so even if I released all my blood, I still wouldn't be able to open this teleportation array. But if you and I work together, opening this teleportation array will not be a problem at all, Jing Shan said sincerely. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. He could see that the sincerity in Jing Shan's eyes did not seem to be fake. Jing Shan was very likely to have obtained a small part of Pangu's inheritance as she said, but because the inheritance was too little, her blood essence was not enough to open this teleportation array. Fellow Daoist Long, I know that you should still be suspicious of me. This is human nature. After all, I did deceive you at the beginning. Jing Shan sighed softly, took out a dagger, and quickly wiped her right wrist, dripping blood on the bright-colored teleportation array. The moment Jing Shan's blood essence fell on the teleportation array, the blood-red teleportation array immediately lit up with a bright light, and an ancient and powerful aura suddenly burst out and spread throughout the entire underground grotto. Zhuowen was startled. He did not expect Jing Shan to be the first to drip her blood essence, and her blood essence had indeed caused the teleportation array to surge, faintly showing signs of it being activated. I really didn't lie to you this time. This teleportation array really needs the blood essence of a successor of Pangu's inheritance to open. Fellow Daoist Long, quickly help me, otherwise, I won't be able to bear it. Jing Shan's blood essence kept dripping on the teleportation array, causing the array's blood color to become even more bewitching, and the ancient aura emitted from the teleportation array's surface also became more and more intense. However, Jing Shan's delicate body was trembling violently, and her face was pale without blood, like a bamboo pole that would fall with the wind. Her condition was very bad. Looking at Jing Shan's Jingshan's SS teleportation array. He came to the teleportation array on the other side, took out Jingshan's Hans's wrist, Jingshan SS. The array S, Jingshan ST Jingshan T suck TSSSS right, Jingshan TS, SSS, T stop SSS Jinkt. The T the thus to this. S. Zhuowen looked at Jingshan, who was opposite him, and found that Jingshan's SS complexion was also not looking good. Only then did he feel relieved, and began to circulate his heavenly path energy to replenish this weakness caused by the excessive blood loss. However, as time passed, Zhuowen's SS expression became more and more solemn. He found that although the teleportation array's ancient aura was becoming more and more intense, it had not been activated yet. Instead, this blood essences was getting faster and faster, which made Zhuowen's SS turn. Bang! 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 Just as Zhuowen was in a daze, the skulls on the 12 bone spears that were inserted in 12 directions of the teleportation array burst open one after another, turning into a strange blood mist. This blood mist formed a long stream that swept out in an instant, sweeping towards Zhuowen. The blood mist's speed was so fast that it reached Zhuowen in an instant. Zhuowen only had time to use the Profound Creation Mysterious Light's Profound Creation Mysterious Light before he was completely enveloped by the blood mist. Jingshan, who was bleeding, suddenly retreated. Her face was still pale, and she seemed to be at a loss. What's going on, Jingshan? Crepe Myrtle Star suddenly blasted a punch at the blood mist, but it was blocked by the blood mist. He could not help but stagger back as he looked at Jingshan with an unsightly expression and coldly shouted. Jingshan shook her head, her eyes full of panic, and said, "I don't know what's going on either. I thought that by combining mice and Daoist Long's blood essence, we should be able to open this teleportation array. But I never thought that something like this would happen. I never expected this." Crepe Myrtle Star bombarded the blood mist dozens of times, but it was blocked by the blood mist every time. In the end, Crepe Myrtle Star gave up on forcibly breaking through the blood mist. Instead, he rushed to Jingshan's front, grabbed her collar, and angrily said, "You're the one who caused this. You must give me an explanation on how you're going to break through this blood mist and save my friend." "I don't know. I really don't know." Jingshan seemed to have lost her soul. She muttered to herself and trembled all over. Crepe Myrtle Star frowned slightly when he saw Jingshan's state, but he eventually let go of her. However, the moment he let go of Jingshan, a jade-like palm landed on Crepe Myrtle Star's chest like lightning. Fart! Crepe Myrtle Star was caught off guard and was hit directly by the slender palm. The powerful shockwave caused Crepe Myrtle Star to spit out a mouthful of blood and fall to the ground in a sorry state. Crepe Myrtle Star looked at Jingshan in disbelief. At this moment, the panic on Jingshan's face had long disappeared. Her expression was very calm as she looked directly at Crepe Myrtle Star. "You planned all of this?" Crepe Myrtle Star was no fool. He quickly thought of some clues and asked in a low voice. "Haha, what else could it be? That Long Wen is really too cautious, causing me to use some tricks. But fortunately, he still fell for it, and my tricks were not in vain," Jingshan said with a proud smile. Crepe Myrtle Star clutched his chest with an ugly expression. After being hit by Jingshan's palm, the power in his body began to become chaotic. It was like boiling water that kept moving around. It became much more difficult for him to circulate his energy. "Myrtle Star, your strength makes me very afraid. My chances of winning against a late-stage Skyreach Lord are not very high, so I used a little trick on you. Today, you will die here." Jingshan laughed tenderly. She stomped her foot and rushed forward like a vigorous and cunning rabbit. In an instant, she closed in on Crepe Myrtle Star. Her jade-like palm was suffused with a blazing golden light as it blasted towards Crepe Myrtle Star. Crepe Myrtle Star punched out. When the fist and palm collided, an energy storm swept out and the surrounding ground nearly burst open. Fart! Crepe Myrtle Star spat out a mouthful of blood and kept retreating. He found a different kind of energy in his body. This energy was constantly disintegrating his strength, causing his power to be in chaos. He could not even use 20% of his strength. I have to leave first. Otherwise, I may die here. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.